Chapter 297 Turning the Tide. Chapter 297 Turning the Tide. Elite Coder. Roar. This time people found the shout a bit off. One could feel the haughtiness subside, and even detect a hint of fear. Flaming Lion King's shaking body kept moving backwards as it stared at incoming purple lightning. Franticness touched its eyes and it started spitting fireballs and flapped its wings to keep the dreaded purple lightning at bay. Fireballs dozens of meters big flew out accompanied by blazing tornadoes. Anything to stop Chiaor. This power was enough to sunder earth and burn the sky. The 6 5th-level spiritual beasts had long since cowered away in fear the power of a 6th-level spiritual beast. However, Chiaor was relentless. Lightning streaked its body as it slipped through the cracks in the flames, arriving 5 meters from the flaming Lion King and coming face to face with a firestorm. Its eyes squinted and whirled. It charged through, with the purple lightning wrapped around it acting as a drill, piercing the flames and rendering them void. Boom. The struck fireballs exploded in a spectacular fashion. Flaming Lion King was beside itself in fear, and the next thing it knew was its reflection in Chiaor's cold eyes. Chiaor ran through Flaming Lion King's chest before he could even think about dodging. Scarlet blood gushed from the hole like a flood. Flaming Lion King was watching its wound paralyzed it. A great 6th-level spiritual beast had actually found its end at the claws of a young thunder skylark, a 4th-level spiritual beast, in one move. Its eyes grew heavy, its body colder, evident from the flickering flames over its body. Flaming Lion King felt itself slipping into the dark abyss. Yet it still wanted to go on. However, the hole in his chest was too great, and he soon found his sight go black before collapsing. SSS. Gasping, the crowd never saw it coming. A 4th-level spiritual beast killing a 6th-level spiritual beast? Ridiculous. Zhuofan was just as shocked. Chiaor had exceeded his expectations. Especially that killing blow. The average Thunder Skylark didn't have such skills. Thunder Skylark was a mild 6th-level spiritual beast. It only knew to use its lightning to cover its body in defense, but never to focus it into an attacking skill. This was where Chiaor differed from the norm. It used the 4th heaven purple lightning and even comprehended 2 skills, one for defense and another for attack. It was uncontested proof of its sentience. Other spirit animals, like Flaming Lion King, were trained in skills by humans, while Chiaor picked them up by itself. The difference was obvious, like comparing heaven and earth, and what did it mean if a spiritual beast gained sentience? The chance to evolve into a sacred beast. This had never happened among spiritual beasts, nor the appearance of someone like Chiaor either. A never-before-seen spiritual beast born from purple lightning. Zhuofan did not yet know where the purple lightning came from. He was still debating if the Heavenly Emperor created it or obtained it somehow, but one thing he did know was, purple lightning wasn't just sparkles to instill such fear into even the likes of sacred beasts. Chiaor had bathed in this almighty power, and had a high chance of evolving. The last thought really got his blood flowing. Am I going to have a sacred beast spirit animal? While he was in his own little world, the others were dazed. The 6 5th-level spiritual beasts included. They all looked wide-eyed at the purple figure. Who knew a 4th-level spiritual beast ever had it in him to kill a 6th-level spiritual beast? Surely not them. Not to mention it was overkill. How it happened. This is insane. Illogical, absurd. It went beyond human and beast comprehension alike. Neither side was capable of staring truth in the face. Huangpu Qintian was the prime example. Seeing his strongest spirit animal killed like nothing, it had messed up the mind of this poor king. What the hell is that thing? Everyone was so out of it and looking at the slight figure in the air until... Shriek. Chiaor flapped its wings, celebrating its conquest. The cry pierced through the people's haze, but the fear still lingered. The little guy is Zhuofan's equivalent in the spiritual beast world. A monster. Sigh, like master, like pet. The people lamented, watching the purple figure in envy. Zhuofan's eyes shined. Chiaor, clear a path for them to break free. The crowd was in complete shock, while only Yu Yushan's side was panicking. That thing is stronger than a 6th-level spiritual beast. Clearing a path meant going through them. Chu Qingqing's side was jubilant and Zhuo Fan's image grew in their hearts. That's our Zhuo Fan. He always pulls through for us. Shriek. Qiao complied with his order and dive. He began by peppering the 3 5th-level spiritual beasts with purple lightning boom. The lightning smashed down like hail, forcing the spiritual beasts to scatter to and fro in fear. Where did this freak come from? And why is this abnormality set on us? Yu Yushan's side was nervous. It wouldn't be long before their beasts would be bombarded to pieces. All the crying in the world wouldn't bring them back then. Robbed of any choice, in fear and anxiety, Yu Yushan's side recalled their spiritual beasts. As long as Qiao was looming overhead, no one dared take their spirit animal out ever again. Having lost its targets, Qiao flew around unhinged, releasing purple lighting like a veritable thunderstorm and killing all in its path. Cries of horror pierced the sky and the ears of Yu Yushan and his 2 allies as they scattered for cover and their lives. Who the hell had the time to keep Chu Qingqing in a deadlock? Luo Yunhai soon found their path cleared and just strutted out like the enemy wasn't even there. Quite understandable when the same enemy was now screaming and running for their lives. The eyes on Qiao were that of awe, shock and fear. Looking at it dominating the battlefield with its power and valor left them sighing. If Zhuo Fan's spirit animal could turn the tides so easily, why didn't he take it out from the start? How were they supposed to know Zhuo Fan had no clue of Qiao's true might? You'd think he'd keep it stashed away instead of showing off otherwise. Xie Tianyang looked lost, his face stiff. Ning do you still find the bird pitiful? With a veritable symphony of screams and wails gracing her ears, Xuaningxiang went beet red as she said, no, but the men facing it sure are. Everything that Zhuo Fan throws out is insane. Not even his pet is normal. Xie Tianyang sighed. Just how did he do it? How the hell did he raise such a monstrous spiritual beast? Enough chatter. We need to get out of here first. Chu Qingqing snapped, then gave a nod to Luo Yunhai who signaled, charge. With Qiao providing cover fire, they breezed through the enemy lines. No one wanted to stop them either, not unless they wanted to be left smoking and sizzling after a bath of purple lightning. Huangpu Qingtian stared wide-eyed at the escaping prey and raved, a bunch of useless mongrels dare foil my plans? You have another thing coming. Ha ha ha, what if you include me? Whoosh! Zhuo Fan popped up before him and kicked his face. Huangpu Qingtian mocked, Humph, you think you can stop me? The only reason you've lived so far is because I was toying with you. You truly believe me to be this weak? Huangpu Qingtian's punch this time left the impression of a rock 50 meters tall crashing down on Zhuo Fan. Bam. Yet when the 2 attacks clashed, Zhuo Fan's leg flickered purple. A boom resounded as Huangpu Qingtian felt an incredible force stagger him, followed closely by Zhuo Fan's evil grin. Ha ha ha, who wasn't? Boom. Huangpu Qingtian was forced back 5 steps. Zhuo Fan didn't let him recover and punched this time. His hand wrapped in purple lightning. Young Master Huangpu, we're the same, you and I. None of us will use our aces until the last moment. Squinting, Zhuo Fan's smirk widened and he hammered Huangpu Qingtian's chest. Huangpu Qingtian rushed his hand to defend. Boom. Another powerful blast revealed purple lightning streaking across the ground, now disintegrated in 1,000 meters range. His punch was not one bit less than Huangpu Qingtian's earlier strike. Chapter 298 All's Within My Grasp. Chapter 298 All's Within My Grasp. As dust billowed, the boom traveled 1,000 miles. Yu Yushan's side couldn't pierce the veil of dust and were beside themselves with shock. Who knew Zhuo Fan was capable of such power? So much so that it almost overwhelmed Huangpu Qingtian. The worry was prevalent in all, but none ventured forth to clarify it. They were too afraid to interfere between soaring demonic dragon and heaven-shaking dragon lord's deathmatch. When the dust settled, all they saw was a mess. When they double-checked the two were nowhere in sight, they scrunched up the little courage they had and investigated the disaster, but the sudden explosion scared them back. Looking at the source, they found Huangpu Qingtian shooting from the ground. Wretched and dirty he may look unseemingly, but there was no apparent wound on him. The shock was palpable at Huangpu Qingtian's state. Taking into account the force behind that fist, yet him coming out unharmed in the least, surged them with joy and admiration. Eldest young master, you're okay. Yu Yushan's gang dashed over, taking a deep breath. Huangpu Qingtian's eyes glinted coldly, but he wasn't looking at them. Where's Zhuofan? The three were confused, until Yu Yushan came forth with a bow. Eldest young master, Zhuofan's punch unleashed a cloud of smoke. Once the dust finally settled, we only saw the eldest young master appear. We saw no trace of him. I suspect he has already fled. Brow shuddering, Huangpu Qingtian spread his discerning field for a more precise investigation. Certain that Zhuofan was gone, he said. And Chu Qingqing's group? Blushing, the three hanged their heads. Forgive us, eldest young master. We let them escape. Huangpu Qingtian's eyes flashed icily, reeling. The three broke out in sweat. They wished for Huangpu Qingtian's cursing so badly right now. At least it would vent some of his anger. Anything was better than this eerie silence. The fear of not knowing his thinking was only mounting. One day Huangpu Qingtian may very well be so angry as to strike them down. The three shuddered in horror, trying to scour for a gesture, anything that betrayed his state of mind. Huangpu Qingtian kept silent for a long time before finally smiling. Let them run. It won't change anything. The three were stunned, having never seen Huangpu Qingtian like this, and didn't know how to react. To wait, is this the same cold-blooded eldest young master? Not only did his scheme come apart at the seams, but he also lost a brimming sacred pill and a 6th-level spirit animal. No to mention he invested so much effort in this plan too, but even after gaining nothing from it, he isn't flying into a rage? Am I dreaming? Did he flip? Baffled by the sudden turn of events, they looked on at him in bewilderment. Like he was a different man, easily picking up on their thoughts. Huangpu Qingtian showed a vague smile. Don't forget our mission in this battle. How can we? It's the position as head of the 7 houses. Lin Xianfeng let it slip, having nothing but scorn for the man. Huangpu Qingtian shook his head. Regent estate has been the head for 1,000 years, and not because of this child's play, but by raw power. We don't need this insipid game to prove anything. Not now, not ever. Huangpu Qingtian instilled fear in each one of them with his declaration. That's the Regent estate we know, unchanged for 1,000 years. Is it for brimming sacred pills then? Yu Yushan ventured, grinning. Huangpu Qingtian shook his head again. Brimming sacred pill is a rare 8th-grade pill that even the Regent estate covets. However, that is hardly our goal. Then please enlighten us, eldest young master. Yen Bongi bowed. Huangpu Qingtian's eyes burst with coldness as he clenched his crackling fist. Zhuofan. A what? The crowd was in complete shock. Sure, Zhuofan was like a disease. But the esoteric debate was held once a century to settle the power struggle between the clans. Yet he was saying that Regent estate only joined because of one man. Aren't you overthinking things? His cold eyes swept the crowd, lingering longer on his 3 allies. Then Huangpu Qingtian clarified their doubts. Do you believe Zhuofan and esoteric debate to be 2 separate matters? Despite everyone avoiding his powerful and steady gaze, there were nods. Humph, ignorance! Huangpu Qingtian mocked. Fools! You have that wretched mentality that says he is only a talented cultivator, that you will sooner or later put him down with the power of your houses. What if I tell you that as long as he's around, Luo clan will stand abreast the 7 houses in 10 years, surpass us in 20, and in 30, it will be the strongest clan in Tianyu that not even all 7 houses together can oppose? Will you still think this esoteric debate to be nothing but a boring game? This can't be. This was too much to bear. Yu Yushan was even denying it as he second-guessed Huangpu Qingtian's words. Eldest young master, aren't you exaggerating? The legacy of the 7 houses is 1,000 years old. He won't reach our level in a century, not to mention decades. Humph, exaggerate? Ha ha ha, if it was me saying that, your reaction would be inexcusable, albeit understandable. However, the crowd was hanging on every one of his words. Huangpu Qingtian snickered. What if it came from Serlung? Would you doubt the words of a cunning man with ineffable plans like the unwanted contriver? What? Ling Wuchang said that? They just got the shock of their lives. For even Ling Wuchang to say that, it meant the prediction had to be true. They just couldn't wrap their head around how Zhuofan, being a monster gifted with such godlike skills. Huangpu Qingtian smiled at their skepticism. Serling said he is of incredible talent, equal to Zhuge Changfeng. He only needs to grasp power and he will soar beyond anyone's reach. That is why we need to clip his wings before he can fully spread them. Or the 7 houses will soon be no more. Shame drifting flowers edifices, veiled dragon pavilion and sword marquise abode are too blind to see it. They are playing with fire standing behind him and will find one day robbed of everything. But the Luo clan is under the imperial family's protection, and they have Dugujantian for support. We are without means to strike him down in any other circumstances. The only way to eradicate him is to do it within the bounds of the esoteric debate. Huangpu Qingtian turned his bloodthirsty eyes to them. That is why our main mission in the esoteric debate is to get Zhuofan's head. Everything else is secondary. The others turned grave, realizing Huangpu Qingtian had finally revealed Regent Estate's real objective for the esoteric debate, but this was nigh impossible to achieve. Harder than gathering the brimming sacred pills and facing spiritual beasts. After witnessing Zhuofan's mystical abilities, they came to realize that he was unrivaled beneath the radiant stage. Even the heaven-shaking Dragon Lord, the strongest of 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, had allegedly barely overpowered him. But when they thought about ignoring him, that was an absolute no, or Huangpu Qingtian would have turned him into a bloody damned smear by now. Why waste so much time explaining it to us? Eldest young master, how are we to go about purging Zhuofan? Our best chance was when we had everyone cornered and Zhuofan was forced to stay. But now they will be on guard and make it even harder. Yu Yushan sighed, grinning. Huangpu Qingtian said, that was our best chance? Ha ha ha, merely bait. The punk has bit on it and all that is left is to wait for the poison to take its effect. Everyone was clueless, ignoring them. Huangpu Qingtian turned towards where Chu Qingqing's group was last seen. Ha ha ha, they thought they'd escaped when in fact they fell right for it. Not even the cunning Zhuofan has hope of breaking out of Serling's personally designed master plan. Relax, all's within my grasp, the others shuddered, clueless as to what got into him, and since Serling intervened himself, then this should be a done deal. Serling was hailed as the #1 schemer, with a 0 fail rate. The shadow tailing them was startled. I've heard of Tianyu's unwanted contriver, but never imagined he will lower himself to deal with a junior. Heaven-shaking Dragon Lord is talented and powerful, but now he even has Ling Wuchang behind him. Zhuofan, you are up against peak experts in both brawn and brains. If you fail, it's only fair I discard you. But if you win, you just became a hot commodity, hee hee. Chapter 299, Array Map. Chapter 299, Array Map. Rustle. A shadow streaked the sky, flashing in and out of view every mile. When he finally stopped, he had crossed tens of miles, listening to the ruckus a few miles out. He just gave a nod, more to himself, and was gone again. The final appearance was in the middle of the group. Who? Xie Tianshang shouted, sword at the ready. He saw everyone look on with joy. Oh, you're finally back. Yeah, so what are you standing with your weapon drawn for? Put it away, will you? Zhuofan rolled his eyes. Xie Tianshang shook his head as he did just that. Brother Zhuo is right. I wish to learn a lot from you in a spar, but it doesn't seem appropriate to do it in the middle of a crisis. Juofan's face twitched. That's a martial fanatic for you. His mind is ever skewed in thinking fighting came first. At least he isn't a lost cause and a complete battle maniac yet. Juofan's return was met with jubilation all around, as if he had become the true winner of that little skirmish back there. Even the vassals forgot about their true masters, and they looked up at him in reverence. It was only a matter of time. With the three houses now willing to follow Juofan's every word, it was obvious who the little clans would choose. Juofan's earlier turning point was the crux. If not for his timely help in clearing a path, they would have been mowed down. They had witnessed it themselves. It was no wonder he was hailed as a savior. Juofan's image soared in their minds. Juofan, are you hurt? Chu Qingqing came over. She saw the light scratches and spoke softly. Her face was calm, but the eyes spoke volumes of the deep care and worry she had for him. Juofan brushed it off and switched topics. It's fine. But Huangpu Qingtian isn't a pushover. Oh, what of Ninger and my spirit animal? Chu Qingqing dimmed, knowing he didn't want to talk about it. She was so aggrieved for not being able to make sense of his thinking. Dong Tianba graced her with a thorough analysis of Juofan's heart's ranking, but it was just that, guesswork. In the end, only Juofan knew what he was thinking, and this got Chu Qingqing vexed the most. Any woman wished to know if the one they loved thought about her the most. Then there's Juofan, who was always so vague and dodgy that no one could get a single clue what went on in that big brain of his. Brother Zhuo, your spirit animal is so fierce none of us dare even approach. What is even stranger, it seems to have taken a particular liking to young Miss Shui and second young Master Xie. Look for yourself. Long Xingyun smiled and pointed above. Juofan was dumbstruck. He saw a purple lightning drifting through the clouds. And on Qiaoer's back was a man and woman having a blast. Who else but Xuanning Xiang and Xie Tianyang? Juofan felt depressed at their entertainment. A thunder skylark is a high-level spiritual beast, so what is it doing getting so attached to strangers? But then it dawned on him Xuanning Xiang and Xie Tianyang wore thunder rings, he refined from Qiaoer's mother. They held its mother since such an outcome was obvious. Shaking his head, Juofan sighed. Fate, I guess. That threw the others off. Qiaoer noticed Juofan and chirped cheerfully. Seeing where they were flying, Xuanning Xiang waved. Big brother Zhuo, welcome back. Only Xie Tianyang's mood sank. Here comes the third wheel. Smiling, Juofan gestured for Qiaoer to come next to him. Xuanning Xiang jumped off the bird and skipped over with rosy cheeks and a sweet smile. Big brother Zhuo, is it the same thunder skylark young we found in Allbeast Mountain Range? Yeah. I got it to hatch. Juofan ruffled her hair. Xuanning Xiang bobbed her head and treated Qiaoer as seeing an old friend. How adorable, just like its mother. Her words set the crowd off in a round of twitching. Juofan wasn't exempt. If there was anyone among them who'd call Qiaoer adorable, then that would be the ever-naive Xuanning Xiang. They recalled with dread how Qiaoer flew in a circle once and blasted experts to smithereens. How in hell is that adorable? They all went silent, having no clue how to break its shriek. Qiaoer's sharp cry and piercing eyes raised everyone from their stupor to demand, You dare say I'm not? Go on, make my day. Shivering, they all bobbed their heads, completing the image with a bright smile and a soaked back. Having got its wish, Qiaoer chirped and gave Xuanning Xiang a smile. Juofan shook his head at how fast the beast and girl had hit it off. Is Qiaoer taking Ninger as its mother? Juofan's cheeks went ablaze as his mind spun. He was Qiaoer's dad and Ninger its mom. Then he and Ninger. Oi, Juofan, how the hell have you been raising it? It's no less monster than you are. Mind giving it to me? Xie Tianyang showed his greedy side that caught Xie Tianshang's attention. Looking at Juofan expectantly, he wasn't thinking what an asset such a strong spiritual beast would be to Sword Marquis's abode. Oh no, he only saw the spiritual beast as an endless sparring partner to hone his edge. Martial fanatic. Did one need to say more? Juofan arched an eyebrow. What do you think? No. Xie Tianyang's face twitched, then cut the crap. Zhuofan glared. Who in their right mind would give away a potential sacred beast? He didn't have a screw loose. Xie Tianyang shrugged, just saying. Geez, can't you take a joke? Though the envy had yet to fade from his eyes every time he saw Qiao. This spirit animal was just too damn overpowered. Just the fact that Zhuofan had such an insane spirit animal was enough to spur Sword Marquis Abode's desires. Xie Tianyang saw Xuanning Xiang cuddling Qiao and his heart sank. Though no one noticed. Once the pleasantries were over and done with, it was time to return to the grim and bitter reality. Brother Zhuo, what do we do now? Long Xingyun asked. Zhuofan muttered. Our main priority is to find the keys and exit stones. To leave this place at once. We'll just ignore brimming sacred pills, as life is far more precious. I can search for them myself if I have to. The words cut deep, and they sighed with hanged heads. He didn't need to be so blunt about it for them to understand. They were dead weights, pure and simple. The earlier battle was proof enough. They were the reason for Zhuofan's limited actions. If he was alone he could come and go as he wished. They all turned bleak, but knew the truth in Zhuofan's words. In this battle, they had no advantage whatsoever and would sooner or later end up as Huangpu Qingtian's pawns in this damnable place. If they lingered, none spoke as they watched Zhuofan gloomily. Xie Tianshang broke the silence with his sigh. We still want to fight, but Brother Zhuo is right. With how weak we are, it's better we leave. Long Xingyun, take it out. We and Brother Zhuo need to consult on the best way to leave this place. Zhuofan looked at them puzzled. Do they have a secret weapon? Easing a breath, Long Xingyun revealed a piece of silk. I am a man living in the present. I do not care as much about the esoteric debate as Brother Xie does. But going home in such a wretched state is not what I want to see. Zhuofan unfolded the silk and cried, Beast King Mountains Array Exit Map. On the detailed map, 5 points stood out, the 5 national elemental stones meant to take them home. With the Yin-Yang metal keys, all they had to do now was get to the metal exit and they'd be home free. Zhuofan stared at the others. Can it be trusted? Long Xingyun spoke seriously. That's what we would like to know by consulting you. With a shout, some profound heaven experts were hoisting 2 scared people over. At the sight of them, Zhuofan sported an odd look as he said, You again! The 2 were bitter and shuddered on the ground with lowered heads. Chapter 300 Battle of the Mines. Chapter 300 Battle of the Mines. Kai shouting, Sun Yufei, didn't I tell you to beat it home? What are you doing here, and captives again no less? Zhuofan mocked them for all their little worth. The 2 kneeled there bitterly and wretched. Not once making eye contact with Zhuofan, Long Xingyun said startled, Brother Zhuo, you know them? Meet the Luo clan traitors. His father was an elder in the clan and even close to the old clan head. Despite their transgression, Yunhai had a good heart and spared them. Zhuofan shrugged. Oh, and why did you capture them? Don't you know killing them is far easier? Long Xingyun gasped, then said solemnly, To tell you the truth, we stumbled upon them not long after we escaped the Killing Blood Marsh. I wasn't planning on sparing them, but we found this map on them as well as 2 keys and a brimming sacred pill. Ahehem. Long Kuei's signal came a tad too late, however. The damage was done. Long Xingyun now realized the error of his ways. Telling him about the map and keys was enough. What was I thinking bringing up the brimming sacred pill? Zhuofan perked up at the mention of those 3 little words and his eyes practically shined. Brother Long, what of the vial? We found it. I realize that, but won't it be safer with me? Zhuofan's demonic smile came next, followed by a genial smile. What if it were to fall in Huangpu Qingtian's hands? That would be awful. We can't have everyone's interests be laid to waste because of one man, now do we? Zhuofan's righteous speech didn't forget to include the public interest. Long Xingyun lost the moral high ground and handed the pill in defeat. He had hoped to enter the radiant stage with this pill, but now that ship had sailed. Long Xingyun wished he could tear his running mouth off. How could he be so stupid? Xie Tianyang and Long Kui knew Zhuofan's character the best, and only had sighs of pity. Once it's in Zhuofan's clutches, there's no getting it back. With a gratified flash of light, Zhuofan tucked the pill in the safety of his ring. He looked at the despondent Long Xingyun, even more pleased with 3 brimming sacred pills in the bag. A ring, only the last one was left, and he'd have milked the esoteric debate dry finding 2 extra keys on Long Xingyun as well, where the icing on the cake it just so happened that he had a pair of keys as well. He could already open the fire and earth exits now. He could now leave this place whenever he wished with his spoils. Victory was at hand. The only problem was punching through Huangpu Qingtian's blockades alone. He'd be home by now. But with so many people dragging their feet behind him. Zhuofan's eyes landed on the kneeling duo. Brother Long fears the map may be a trap. That is what I assume, yes. Long Xingyun brushed past Zhuofan's open appropriation of his wealth and said, They say as early as 2 weeks ago, Huangpu Qingtian sent them in search of the keys to have full control of the battlefield. But I still feel this is too much of a coincidence. We just got out of danger yet met with these 2 who had the map we wanted. The more I think about it, the more I suspect it. That is why I had them on a leash until Brother Zhuo returned to discuss it. Zhuofan nodded inside. Long Xingyun was sloppy by nature, but he had a good head on his shoulders. At least the array map was clearly dubious, but for this fleeing group, it held absolute interest. The odds for a trap waiting for them was most likely certain. Even if he absolutely knew about it being a trap, its value outweighed the risks. This is one bait I can't refuse. Zhuofan squinted at the pair. You better answer my every question. If I found out you're lying, I'll make it so even death would be your most cherished wish. The 2 shuddered but nodded. The fear had them soaked in sweat. Zhuofan began. Did Huangpu Qingtian make you wait for us? And no. Like we said, we stumbled upon you as we searched for the exit. There's nothing else to it. Kai shouting blurted. Zhuofan stared him down. The man was frantic, but finding no lies, he continued. Did you make this map after finding the arrays? No, the arrays are too spread out. It's impossible for us to find them. Kai shouting shook his head. Fearing Zhuofan would find his answer lacking, he rushed with, There were 5 teams of us, each with its own area to search. We used a jade slip to keep in touch and made the map. What of the 2 keys and pill? We found them along the way. We used to have 2 pills, but a profound heaven expert stole one to take the credit, and you took the last 1-inch. Kai shouting was heartbroken, his voice trailing off. How could we be so down on our luck? The 2 pills were our promise to greatness. But at some point, their other profound heaven expert team member took one for himself, and when they thought the other was enough to get something good, they ran into these guys. Forget about merits when we're having enough trouble keeping our heads. The 2 fell deeper in despair. Zhuofan saw them squirm and nodded. Long Xingyun added, Brother Zhuo, what if this is a trap as well? There's no need to say it. They were once part of the Luo clan and understand them enough to know if they lie. Zhuofan's eyes glinted. Long Xingyun and the rest were overjoyed. That validated the map as being genuine. They could survive this. Zhuofan shook his head, however. Don't be so quick to celebrate. The map could still be fake. A what? The crowd was stunned, grinning. Zhuofan revealed a deep gaze. They are truthful, yes, but that doesn't guarantee Huangpu Qingtian was honest to them as well. Now they looked puzzled as to why Zhuofan was still smiling. Doesn't that make this map useless? In another place, Huangpu Qingtian pointed at an identical map Zhuofan had. Yu Yushan, you will set up an ambush at the metal exit. Yan Bongyi, you will stake out the fire exit. Me and Lin Xianfeng will be watching the earth one. Remember what I said. Others do not matter, but one person has to breathe their last at all costs. Make sure they die in excruciating pain and suffering. The 3 felt uneasy. Eldest young master, we understand your wish. But will killing this person have any effect on Zhuofan? Yu Yushan frowned. With how we handed the exits' locations along with keys and even a brimming sacred pill, they can now flee without worry. Wouldn't it have been better to give them a fake map? With an evil grin, Huangpu Qingtian mocked, "Imbecile, you think you can fool Zhuofan's cunningness with a fake one? But isn't he far too paranoid to believe even the real one?" Yanbanghi frowned. Huangpu Qingtian smiled. "All the more reason why we gave him everything to believe. Even the 2 prisoners are real. The 2 were purposefully kept in the dark, limiting their knowledge to the array map, keys and pill. It's all because my men guided them from the shadows. Their words are without a doubt genuine. He will never realize we'd even lie to our men all so we could trap him. No matter how shrewd he is, he will never get one falsity out of those 2. The others lit up, with Lin Xianfeng giving a thumbs up in his flattery. "Eldest young master is wise. Versed in pen and sword." "Humph, this is part of Serling's plan. I have nothing to do with it." Huangpu Qingtian shook his head, holding the very last brimming sacred pill vial in his hand. Yu Yushan looked at it with a sigh. "Of our 3 pills, we only have 1. What are you so worried about? With Zhuofan's greedy nature, he won't be satisfied with just 3. He will want the last one as well. We just have to deal with him and the others will be easy pickings." Huangpu Qingtian sneered. "Follow the plan and we will have the 3 vials as well as his head." "Ha ha ha." Huangpu Qingtian's cackle got everyone excited. The operation to eradicate soaring demonic dragon was a go. Chapter 301 Mole. Chapter 301 Mole. A group of people were resting in the dense forest, while Long Xingyun, Xie Tianshang, Chu Qingqing and Zhuofan inspected a map. Long Xingyun was the first to speak. "Brother Zhuo, do you see something wrong with the map to call it a fake?" "None whatsoever. Be it the captives or the map, they are both beyond reproach." Zhuofan shook his head and his gaze hardened. "But there's no way I'd take it for granted when something so good just comes and falls into my lap. It goes double for something we need the most." Silence pervaded for a while, then Chu Qingqing ventured, "Maybe we do not need this map. We could go opposite dash." "Who says we don't need it?" Zhuofan butted in with a smile. "If it's real, that turns it into a trap. This makes it worth using it. Since they went out of their way to plan against us, we'll just beat them to the punch." The others didn't know where he was going with this, so Zhuofan held out the 3 sending jade. He left a message on them, then left one to each of them with a crafty smile. "Wait for 5 days, then read it." Zhuofan jumped to his feet and barked, "Listen up. We're moving out. Form 3 divisions around the 3 houses and split up for the 3 exits." "Split up? Why make them weaker than they already were?" Zhuofan handed over the exit keys and said, "Yes, split up. With our size, it's very easy to be spotted. Smaller teams will allow us to move unnoticed. In the case of an enemy encounter, it would also be simple to flee and hide among the thick trees." While others nodded, Chu Qingqing pulled Zhuofan to the side. "What if the map is fake and the exits hold nothing but traps? We won't know unless we try. We finally got an exit route as well. Even if we clash a few more times in the Beast King Mountain, it will be easy to escape while whittling down their bone-tempering experts' number. It will end with them being reduced to nothing. This is our best bet." Zhuofan put on a smile and turned to the rest. "Each team will send out 3 profound heaven experts to scout 30 miles ahead, reporting back on the hour." "Understood." They all replied, and Zhuofan said to Chu Qingqing, "Even if they meet a trap, they can get an early notice." Glaring at him, Chu Qingqing shook her head. "You're full of tricks." As they all got ready to set off, Luo Yunhai's team followed behind Drifting Flower's edifices just as Long Xingyun brought the 2 prisoners. "What do we do with them?" "Let them go." Zhuofan spoke coldly. The others whipped their heads around in shock. "Long Xingyun was the most affected. They'll betray our plan if they're found. It will happen regardless. Recall what happened in Killing Blood Marsh. We have a mole among us. These two situation has already been reported back. Letting them go or not won't make a difference. Zhuofan sighed. What a shocker. How could we forget? We still have a spy unaccounted for. Everyone looked around suspiciously. Zhuofan said, this isn't the time to draw him out. We'll do that once we get back to the safety of Dragon Cloud City. But a spy implies great danger. Xie Tianxiang's face hardened. Zhuofan sneered. What danger? He'll only rat out our movements. As long as we're fast enough, any information will be worthless and they won't be able to act on it. On the contrary, if we suspect each other all the time, it will be a disaster only they will profit from. So get a move on. Reach the 3 exits on the double. The people were startled for a second, then their opinion of him grew. They never knew you could deal with a spy like that, ignoring him yet moving faster than he could report would be the same as turning him useless. The way Zhuofan boldly did things got even the army experienced Luo Yunhai in a daze. Not even Dugujantian led his army with such valor. Big Brother Zhua is a true man of ambition to have so many great figures set their eyes on him. Set off. Let's see each other in Dragon Cloud City in 5 days. Zhuofan shouted, and the other replied in high spirits as well. Only Chu Qinqing and her 2 allies knew his true meaning. The nearest exit was a week away, while the farthest was 10 days. He was speaking for their own benefit. To check the sending jade 5 days later, the 3 noticed Zhuofan's slight nod and smile. The group thus split into 3 divisions according to Zhuofan's orders. They moved swiftly, curious to see if they or the spy's leaks were faster. The forceful way Zhuofan dealt with the spy left the people fired up and eager for battle. Despite being a mere race to defeat the spy, to them it felt like they were battling against their greatest enemy, and winning too. They started to get a feeling of holding everything beneath them, of indomitable spirit, just like Zhuofan usually was. Everyone was united in their goal and hearts. Kai shouting took an ashen Sun Yufei away. As they passed Zhuofan, he asked, "Wi, let us go?" "No reason. Maybe I'm showing kindness for taking care of Luo clan in the early days. Or maybe I wish to see your agony for my sick humor. But I will admit to this, when it comes to garbage, killing or throwing it away makes no difference." Zhuofan left as well, not minding them one bit. Kai shouting sighed and muttered, "Thank you." Then he slowly walked away with Sun Yufei. They had lost the hatred they clutched to so dearly, and it was now replaced by solitude. Recalling their derisory look when Zhuofan entered the Kai clan, it all seemed like a poor joke now. He was a true man of ambition, and had brushed them off from the very start. It was them who kept having their goals growing higher and higher. The man had a clear vision of what he wanted, never changing, all while theirs did. He finally realized that 8 years ago when Zhuofan left Blackwind Mountain, he and his father were in awe of the man's talent, but never held him in respect. It came to him that even his father belittled Zhuofan. Zhuofan had such a talent lesser clansmen like them couldn't even begin to compare. Sighing, they slowly disappeared among the trees. "Big Brother Zhua, you're not coming with us?" Xuaningxiang ran to him. Zhuofan shook his head. "There's something I must do. You and the Shui clan should go with Sword Marquis's abode. Xie Tianyang may be unreliable, but his brother is there to make it up for him. Few are his match, except Huangpu Qintian. You'll be safe." "Oi, what are you implying? Who are you calling unreliable? What did I ever do to you to badmouth me to Ninger?" Xie Tianyang was annoyed and grabbed Ninger's shoulder. "Ninger, don't worry. No one will hurt you with me around." But Xuaningxiang didn't even register his presence. Her eyes fixed on Zhuofan, her voice soft. "When will we see each other again?" "In 5 days. Zhuofan smiled. "That's a promise. You have to come see me in 5 days." Xuaningxiang held out her thunder ring. "You can't lie to me like you did in the All-Beast mountain range." Smiling, Zhuofan took out his own thunder ring, and let them touch as sparks flew. "I won't." Xuaningxiang smiled brightly. To the rancor and jealousy of Xie Tianyang, Xuaningxiang then dragged a stiff Xie Tianyang back to Sword Marquis's abode's division. Zhuofan shook his head and left in another direction as he heard Xie Tianyang's incessant begging, Ninger, let our rings touch as well. No! Why? I beg you. Zhuofan shook his head, then turned to the aged man following Luo clan. Grandmaster Lu, come with me. I need your help. Luizhen jerked, but got there on the double. The two flitted through the trees and were soon gone. Half a day later, they stood atop a mountain peak regarding the breathtaking view. Zhuofan took a deep breath and felt so free, relaxed and soothed. Those dead weights are about to leave. I haven't felt so at ease in ages. Luizhen smiled inside as he bowed. In the esoteric debate this century, the Three Houses Alliance hardly did anything. They could only hold on because of Grandmaster Zhuo's support, while they were holding you back. You couldn't be more right. Zhuofan cocked his head with a smile. Luizhen probed. Then, Grandmaster Zhuo, what are your orders? Oh, no orders. I only want to know where Huangpu Qintian is right now. Doesn't he have another brimming sacred pill? I should pay him a visit and receive it. Zhuofan's eyes flashed coldly. Luizhen felt a shiver crawl up his spine. Chapter 302 Tangled. Chapter 302 Tangled. Grandmaster Zhuo, I do not understand. How can I hope to see into Huangpu Qingtian's faction's movements? Swallowing dryly, Luizhen froze, stammering and darting his eyes anywhere but Zhuofan. Grinning, Zhuofan shook his head. My dear Grandmaster Lu, you're saying that even now? How would you leak our info if you didn't know his position? His heart beating out of his chest, Luizhen panicked as he explained, Grandmaster Zhuo, I don't understand what you... It's fine. You don't have to say it. I won't make it hard on you either. Just deliver a message for me and put that oh-so-great and stuck-up heaven-shaking dragon lord on the spot. Zhuofan brushed his panic off. Luizhen's beard shook, his face haunting. Zhuofan's inscrutable smile unnerved him the more he saw it. Is he faking it or omniscient? This is disturbing. Zhuofan's laugh came as an answer to his thoughts. Grandmaster Lu, you should know by now of my character. If not by seeing, at least from rumors. I don't need to justify myself when I want to kill someone. I just do it. On the other hand, if I want one alive, regardless of how vile and deceitful that person is, I won't lay a finger on him. Anyway, I've had my suspicions on you from the start. I could have killed you whenever I wanted to. But I think it's safe to say my actions prove there will be no killing from my part. Coming out clean won't make much of a difference either at this point. Who doesn't yearn for glory and power? But didn't I let Kai Shouting walk free? Zhuofan's daunting eyes stared Luizhen down. Luizhen was in a quandary, but nodded in the end. Grandmaster Zhuo is sharp beyond any man. I admit, it was unwanted contriver Leng Wuchang who ordered me to get close to Grandmaster Zhuo. I do not know how he knew, but he found out you and I were once acquaintances, so he made me spy on you. I refused at first, but then... Fine, the reasons are pretty much typical for any spy. If not out of glory and power, then from a threat. I totally get it. Zhuofan's nonchalant wave cut him off. Luizhen hung his head. Zhuofan is incredible. He knows everything. It was one thing to say power, glory or constraint, but how many could escape their clutches? Zhuofan stared at him. Now that that's out of the way, send a message to Huangpu Qintian. What message? Luizhen was stunned. Zhuofan's conduct was baffling. He just got a hold on the enemy's spy, and he wasn't going to tear him asunder? And instead he was taking a step further, leaving the spy alive to send word to the enemy. It was as if they were on the same side. It totally floored the calm alchemist Luizhen. Ahehem. Zhuofan's straight face revealed a haughty air. Grandmaster Lu, when you see Huangpu Qintian, this is how you'll behave. You'll curse him. Stupid head Huangpu pup, ignorant and trifling clown, yours truly has seen through it all. So tone down the drama and your petty tricks. I've been playing this game from before you were even born. Face twitching, Luizhen sweated bucket. He ventured, Grandmaster Joie, could you perhaps maybe ease on the rancor? I won't be able to imitate you. Was this a joke? Joifan was having a blast here, cursing and wailing like he owned the place. But when the guy met Huang Pu Qingtian face to face, was he going to stick to the real message? Not if he wanted to come out alive, ha ha ha. Fine, as you wish. Just make sure he catches my drift. Joifan looked uncaring, but his face turned deadly the next, however. This line you must say it word for word. His hand flashed, and was now holding 4 brimming sacred pill vials. Louisian was slack-jawed. Joifan easily read his shock and smiled coldly. Tell him this. Huang Pu Qingtian, you call yourself insidious and brilliant, but not even you would have imagined the last brimming sacred pill was with me all along. And you even laid out the stage to trap me? That's rich. Louisian blinked, counting the vials. It was clear as day there were 4, but the absurdity of it all made him second-guess it. He'd been next to Joifan all this time, yet never knew where the guy got all the brimming sacred pills. So he always assumed Joifan only had the 3, yanked from Huang Pu Qingtian's very hand too. That there never was a 4th. Is this another pill he robbed? Louisian showed his shock. Grandmaster Joie, if you already took Huang Pu Qingtian's last pill, why make me a messenger? Shu Joifan put a finger on his lips. The last pill wasn't taken, but slipped off of him. He's still oblivious. He knows what I can do, so telling him my message will make him understand. Make sure you get a clear view of his blind rage when he flips out and comes back to me, hee. Blinking, Louisian sighed. They both knew Huang Pu Qingtian was gruesome, and yet Joifan swiped his pill without the slightest indication? Unreal. Joifan doesn't look to be lying either. He wants me to shame Huang Pu Qingtian further with that message. By all accounts, it didn't look fake at all. Joifan actually swiped the oblivious Huang Pu Qingtian's brimming sacred pill from right under his nose. Taking a deep breath, Louisian's face hardened. Grandmaster Joie is incredible. There's nothing you can't do. I will pass on Grandmaster Joie's words, although the wording might not be as taunting. I get it. What matters is the essence. He will surely be pissed when he hears it. Haha. Joifan chortled. Louisian took 2 steps away before stopping. Grandmaster Joie, could you please clarify something for me? Shoo. Since when have you doubted me? Louisian asked, grinning. Joifan said, from the moment I laid my eyes on you in Beast King Mountain. That fast. Louisian was stunned. He couldn't for the life of him see what gave him away. Joifan shook his head. 1. I never believe in coincidences. The esoteric debate is held on Beast King Mountain, yet it just so happened for you to be here looking for herbs? Highly unlikely. You must have got here thanks to Huang Pu Qingtian's storage ring. 2. When I accepted you as a disciple, all you showed was respect and not joy. It was a complete contrast from how you reacted the first time you asked. I had my suspicions right then, and using apprenticeship as an excuse to help Luo clan sealed it. All combined made your purpose in getting close to Luo clan obvious. Louisian looked long at Joifan in shock. Sigh, I failed as a spy. You saw through me the moment we met. But why didn't you get rid of me then? To figure out Huang Pu Qingtian's plans, of course. Joifan sneered. Each time you used the sending jade, I figured it was to leak our numbers, position and members. This gave me an easy time figuring out what Huang Pu Qingtian was cooking, that he was aiming for those around me. Louisian's face twitched in shame. He not only failed as a spy, but was an utter disgrace. The info he sent was faulty and went as far as exposing his lord's master plan. Louisian's face was scorching. Grandmaster Joie, you truly are cunning. No wonder Ling Wuchang stepped in personally. Louisian flew away, leaving Joifan in shock. It was his first time hearing it, even considering that the mastermind wasn't Huang Pu Qingtian, but Ling Wuchang. In such a case, I have to hurry up. Joifan flew after Louisian. In the shadows a day later, a light flew nearby. Joifan caught the sending jade, which wrote, The soldiers return, the Dragon King is at peace. Sure enough, the array map is a trap. Grinning, Zhuofan shot 3 sending jades to his 3 allies. He then looked at the one in his hand and praised. Perfectly done. He resumed, tailing Luizhen. Letting Kai shouting off wasn't out of the goodness of his heart or, like he put it, out of indifference, but to use them and gauge Huangpu Qingtian's reaction. If Huangpu Qingtian raged, the 3 exits would be safe. If Huangpu Qingtian didn't blame the 2, then it all went according to the man's plan and he needed to change the routes of his 3 allies. This was all made possible thanks to the spy he meticulously placed near Huangpu Qingtian. Zhuofan wasn't beneath Leng Wuchang's capacity for treachery when it came to covert ops. While the factions looked subdued at a first glance, the darkness revealed a tangled mess. Chapter 303 Outplayed. Chapter 303 Outplayed. Elite Coder. Whoosh! Huangpu Qingtian and Lin Xianfeng were leading their men to the Earth exit when they spotted a light trailing the sky. A figure landed with a boom and Huangpu Qingtian frowned. Luizhen, what are you doing here? I thought I told you to stick to Zhuofan. Don't tell me. Bitter, Luizhen bowed. Eldest young master, I was exposed. What? Then how are you still alive? Huangpu Qingtian's brow pursed, his suspicion raised. A vile and insidious man like Zhuofan actually let go of not just Kai shouting but you as well? He just discovered and released 2 spies. What the hell is going on in that mind of his? Sighing, Luizhen's heart went cold. He could tell the 2 held no hopes for his return. They had thrown him away from the start. Who told him to climb aboard? He had no choice now but to go with them. Taking a deep breath, Luizhen bowed. Eldest young master, Zhuofan sent word for you. Speak. Huangpu Qingtian's eyes were grave. Luizhen mulled for a bit before. Zhuofan said your schemes are as clear as day and should not bother yourself with them. That's it? With his temper, that doesn't sound like him. Huangpu Qingtian mocked, bowing again. Luizhen continued. Eldest young master is right. But as his true words are crass and rude, unfitting for the eldest young master's ears, I altered their wording. The meaning is the same. Ha ha ha, are you afraid I'll take my anger out on you? Huangpu Qingtian read him like a book. It's fine anyway. I don't feel like listening either. It's ironic how he thinks himself all-knowing, surrounded as he is by a thick fog he can't even see. The 2 next to him were clueless, but Huangpu Qingtian's overconfidence deterred any questions. Then Luizhen turned nervous, bowing again. Eldest young master, Zhuofan has one more thing to say. I don't want to hear it. It must be some pointless boasting, trying to throw me off my game. Let him sink into his delusions. Huangpu Qingtian brushed him off. Luizhen cupped his hands. Eldest young master, Zhuofan does intend to shame eldest young master, but I have to make this report. Huangpu Qingtian turned grave. Speak. Eldest young master, the 4th brimming sacred pill you are using to entice him has long since been in his hands. He was mocking you, saying how ignorant you were of it all. What? Lin Xianfeng cut in. Impossible, eldest young master had the 4th pill placed in my care from the start. How can it be with him? Young Master Lin, I didn't believe it either, but then he showed me 4 vials. I had never seen them the entire time I was with his group. He also said that you all know what he can do. Luizhen trailed off. Huangpu Qingtian squinted, the seed of doubt planted. Lin Xianfeng was panicking. Did he steal it with that weird art of his? Lin Xuanfeng's hand flashed with the brimming sacred pill vial. Lin Xianfeng only then eased a breath. Ha ha ha, the punk is messing with us. We still have it. Huangpu Qingtian was too deep in thought to care. Then his face changed. Fool, don't take it out. Lin Xianfeng froze for a second, enough time for the vial to vanish. Zhuofan. Lin Xianfeng stammered. Not far off, Zhuofan's cackle came from among the trees. Ha ha ha, thanks a bunch, young Master Huangpu. I shall accept your generosity. Lin Xianfeng blinked, still frozen on the spot. Louisian was still out of it from shock. Zhuofan has been behind me all this time? Huangpu Qingtian held his head and sighed. Morons, the lot of you. This was the plan to draw out Zhuofan, and he had no idea where I hid the brimming sacred pill. Then you guys just handed it over on a silver platter. What were you expecting? Lin Xuanfeng's eyes widened and threw his rage on Louisian. Traitor! You now collude with Zhuofan? I'll kill you. Young Master Lin, I am just the messenger. I don't know anything. Louisian was scared out of his mind. He was under the false impression that Zhuofan sent him on a mere errand to make Huangpu Qingtian look bad with his message. Who even conceived it possible that there was a scheme involved? The worst part was that he made the old man a scapegoat with the two before him pissed, since they couldn't grab Zhuofan. Who else were they going to take their anger out on? Not even washing in the underworld river would absolve him. He began as a spy for Huangpu Qingtian's faction, only to end up dying at his hands. He was dubbed a double agent no one would take pity on. Quite fitting for a spy, and ironic he had now witnessed Zhuofan's capacity for savagery and cruelty. There was no getting out scot-free from him. With the double agent blame smacked on his shoulders, the insidiousness of the ploy finally dawned on him. Huangpu Qingtian signaled Lin Xianfeng. Stop, it's not his fault. He was also used. Eldest young master is brilliant. Louisian bowed and wiped his brow. Huangpu Qingtian gave him no attention and turned to the forest. Since you came, why don't you come over for a talk? Ha ha ha, what's there to talk about? But since you insist, I'll meet you. I want to see with my own eyes the scowling and miserable face of a loser. Zhuofan walked from among the trees with a smile. The rest of the men there paled and tensed. Soaring demonic dragon was just as notorious as Huangpu Qingtian. Your men sure look terrified of me. Zhuofan mocked. Huangpu Qingtian smiled coldly, not angered at all. Zhuofan, there's a saying which fits you perfectly right now. Stop showing off or you'll be struck down by lightning. Ha ha ha, I've been doing it since I was born, but no lightning has touched me so far. Though it makes me wonder, what would it feel like? It must be quite the thrill. Zhuofan laughed, shaking his head. Huangpu Qingtian grinned. You will soon find out. Squinting, Zhuofan stared into Huangpu Qingtian's eyes with unease. By the way, Zhuofan, the vial you used to fool the old man must be the one you found at some point but never took it out. So when old Lu saw 4 vials, he jumped to conclusions. He would never dare lie to me otherwise. Huangpu Qingtian's lips twisted into a smile. Zhuofan rose an eyebrow. Look at you, young Master Huangpu. You're not as dumb as other muscle-brain fools around you. Ha ha ha, I am destined to be king. How can I be a fool? But to be entirely honest, it's not easy to see through it in an instant. I realize the truth because of something that is happening right now. Huangpu Qingtian snickered. Zhuofan, don't you have the 2 keys for the water exit yet keep them to yourself? Zhuofan cried out. How did you don't tell me? Correct. I sent my men to place them on your way when you were with Luo Yunhai's group. I didn't doubt for a second you'll miss them. So when Louisian reported you not mentioning them when you met up with Chu Qingqing, it made me realize you were planning on using them when it mattered most. You once said we're both the same, that we won't show our hands so easily. Ha ha ha, a shame I already know of 2 of your cards. Shuddering, Zhuofan showed fear for the first time. His mind put 2 and 2 together and his brow was soaked. Huangpu Qingtian's heart burst with joy at his expense. Serling said the pinnacle of the art of war is to make the most of a situation. Not just get the enemy to fall for your traps, but to control their every move, to guide them where you wanted. Zhuofan, from the moment you met with Luo Yunhai, your actions, your objectives, have all gone according to my plan, including those fights we had. Although your fancy art gives me headaches, letting you win every time was all part of my plan. Also, you would become the de facto leader of the alliance. It was the best way to ensure you will follow the road to hell I painstakingly paved for you. What? Don't tell me you haven't wondered how smooth your journey has been so far. You really think highly of yourself, able to face thousands of men and save everyone from the jaws of death. Humph, you lost, all because of your arrogance. Case in point, the Killing Blood Marsh skirmish. Did you ever think about why I didn't unleash all my power? You thought I was too cocky, thinking I had you all like fish in a barrel, so I was going to take pleasure in toying with you? Ha ha ha, I threw the match. Juefan shivered, recoiling 3 steps, then shooting into the air after the 3 teams. I have completely lost. Juefan shouted in his mind. Never had he been so out of control as he was now. Huangpu Qingtian's side was having a blast, however, cackling arrogantly. Juefan was finally beaten back. Chapter 304 Deeper into the Mud. Chapter 304 Deeper into the Mud. Elite Coder. Lin Xuanfeng's eyes trailed Juefan as he vanished in the distance. This is the first time I have seen that punk so out of it. What on earth happened? Ha ha ha, nothing much, just him sending his own friends to an early grave. Huangpu Qingtian had a vague smile. He then turned to pat Luizhen's shoulder. Old Lu, well done. Just as I expected. Eldest young master, I don't deserve it. I've been found out since the start, ugh. He didn't finish as Huangpu Qingtian squeezed his throat with a thin smile. No, old Lu, you don't have to be modest. You did great. Huangpu Qingtian smiled, but his hand only clutched harder. The smile looked downright sinister at this point, instilling dread in the puzzled old man. How had he erred? Why had Huangpu Qingtian stopped Lin Xianfeng from killing him, yet was now doing it himself? Eyes bulging, Luizhen could only let out hoarse sounds. Luizhen was just as perplexed as the victim. Eldest young master, what? Ha ha ha, I stopped you only because Juefan was nearby. I didn't want to put on a show for him. But now, this old geezer has outlived his purpose. It wouldn't do if he fell into Dugujantian's hands. Killing him here will spare me the trouble. Huangpu Qingtian's eyes glinted and the vile snicker on his face grew. He put just a touch more force in his grip and the body shuddered for a moment, then Luizhen's limbs went limp, flinging the corpse away. Huangpu Qingtian clapped. Lin Xianfeng gasped. His mind overwhelmed. Huangpu Qingtian is a beast to dispose of those he no longer has use of. He has not a shred of conscience. Will I end up the same? Huangpu Qingtian knew this was coming, so he patted his shoulder, making him shiver. Worry not. Even if a cripple, you're the next in line to lead Merry Woods. You're so much more valuable. As long as you are by my side, I will do you no harm. Lu Xuanfeng's face twitched. He gave a hollow laugh while wiping his brow. Looking at Luizhen's body again, he sighed inside. Who is to say it won't change? But then Lu Xianfeng brightened. Eldest young master, since you could bring Luizhen, why didn't you do the same for the elders of our houses? Finishing off Juefan then would have been so much easier. Fool, you take Dugujantian in charge of Dragon Cloud City's defenses for a prop? Huangpu Qingtian snorted. I only managed to bring him after treating him like a spirit animal, placing him in my storage ring. It is because of his insignificance that he went unnoticed. If it were an elder from the 7 houses instead, it would send an alarm to Dugujantian and get us observed. If not for our low numbers keeping it under wraps, our plan would have fallen through. Lin Xianfeng bobbed his head, accepting the tongue lashing while not forgetting to polish Huangpu Qingtian's rear with endless flattery. Huangpu Qingtian waved him off. We're setting out for the Earth exit at once. Is there a point going there now that Juefan knows our plan? Lin Xianfeng was bewildered. Huangpu Qingtian's snide reply came. Idiot, we're going so that he'd walk right into our ambush. All the traps are in place. Despite knowing that, he has no way to foil them. Not when he had a hand in making it possible. That heartrending regret, the gnawing guilt, must be quite the torment. Ha ha ha. Huangpu Qingtian cackled evilly. Lin Xianfeng still didn't get it, but did as was told in another place. Xie Tianshang's team had been heading for the metal exit for 3 days now when a sudden light flew over. Xie Tianshang caught it, knowing to be Zhuofan's sending jade that said, "Now you can look at the jade slip." Xie Tianshang was quite puzzled. Wasn't I supposed to do that after 5 days? Why so early? But since Zhuofan said so, he of course obliged. 5 simple words entered his eyes: head for the water exit. Ugh! Xie Tianshang was floored. What does that mean? Change course on the spot? Why? Is the metal exit dangerous? Xie Tianshang shouted without delay, "Hold! We're changing directions. Follow me." Xie Tianyang pulled Xuaningxiang to the front among the baffled stares. "Brother, what's up? We've been running for 3 goddamn days and you suddenly want to change course? Is it an enemy attack?" "No." Xie Tianshang shook his head, giving him the jade slip. "This is the jade slip Zhuofan gave me before we split, saying to inspect it 5 days later. But I just received word from him to look at it now. And it said." Xie Tianyang looked at the jade. "Head to the water exit? What the hell?" "I don't know either. But since Zhuofan said so, he must have his reasons." Xie Tianshang's eyes were firm. Xie Tianyang shook his head. "Brother, since when did you become a fan? What if he's wrong? How many times was he wrong in the past days he was with us? We hardly ever suffered any setbacks as well. While in a situation I cannot fathom, listening to his judgment is a sound decision." Xie Tianshang's mind was set. Xuaningxiang spoke first before Xie Tianyang could. "Brother Tianyang, has Big Brother Zhuo ever been wrong? Listen to him. Don't you recall the All-Beast mountain range? Didn't he fall for Yugiki's ploys time and time again? But with no Yugiki around, Big Brother Zhuo is the strongest, right?" Xuaningxiang was zealously defending Zhuofan's honor. Xie Tianyang's mouth twitched, feeling his heart ache. And since he could do nothing to Ninger, he could only compromise, and so, led by Xie Tianshang, the Sword Marquis's abode team turned towards the water exit. Chu Qingqing and Long Xingyun's team received Zhuofan's message as well and were heading in the same direction. None knew, however, of the 10,000-strong army waiting for them there, led by Yan Bangyi and Yu Yushan on top of a majestic mountain. Yu Yushan looked on in the distance but didn't spot anyone. He took out his jade slip and sighed. "OL Poisoner, what's your take on eldest young master's action? Giving us a jade slip to open a day later, only to have our course changed to the water exit and set an ambush here. Why didn't he say so from the start? Why make us waste so much time first going to the fire and metal exit?" He was afraid of having the info leaked." Yan Bangyi's grim face shuddered in fear. Yu Yushan raised an eyebrow. "Does that mean there's a spy among us? Ha ha ha, you crack me up. Any spies will be on their side. Is there any lesser clan out there willing to offend Regent by becoming a spy? Not to mention the dozens of vassals on their side willing to lean on the Regent estate, giving us their movements of their own accord. Be that as it may, it never hurts to be on the safe side. Especially at such a crucial moment in our plan." Yan Bangyi muttered. "As this is Serling's ploy, we only need to follow it." Yu Yushan nodded as well. The two saw Leng Wuchang's mind infallible, his plans perfect. All they had to do was just do what he said. "Senior brother, young master Yu, the 3rd grade array below is set." Yan Fu bowed in respect before the two, nodding. Yan Bangyi waved him off. "Junior brother, you worked hard. Withdraw." "Thank you." Yan Fu bowed and left. Yu Yushan mocked the retreating figure. "The kid has been quite meek as of late. Not even a hint of dissatisfaction on his face either. Well, he is a rare genius alchemist." Pill King Hall raised after all. "Ha ha ha, ever since Zhuofan killed Vicious Pill King, he lost all support. He must have finally accepted his fate to turn so quiet. Those two only ever looked at others from their high horse. Even you." Yu Yushan raised an eyebrow. They traded a glance, then jeered. The mockery from above slammed into Yen Fu's ears. His fists clenched, and his eyes glinted with savagery. One day you'll get what you deserve, and I'll be there to watch you die. In the meantime, Zhuofan was rushing towards the water exit. With no time to notify the teams, he could only hope he'd make it in time to rescue them. His mind kept drifting to the worst-case scenarios, making him clench his jaw and plagued him with worry. He told them to go for the water exit and was sure they would follow it. This was what made it ever worse, riddled with guilt, and yet in complete awe of the mastermind behind it all, to be seen through so thoroughly that even implicated his allies in this trap. He felt toyed, like how a cat did to a mouse. The mastermind was no ordinary man to make even the great Zhuofan fall for his schemes. This man's schemes were on a whole another level from Yu Geki's unwanted contriver, Leng Wuchang. Zhuofan gnashed his teeth in rage. He had already guessed the true architect behind all this framing. It was not that arrogant prick, Huangpu Qintian, but Regent Estate's steward, the second greatest mind of the Tianyu Empire, Leng Wuchang. Revenge was out of his sight for now. All he could do was to try everything in pulling through this desperate situation. Then, Zhuofan sensed a bone-chilling air as he passed. Looking below, he found a clear pond releasing cold air from its center. 1,000-year-old frigid pond. Eyes squinting, Zhuofan dived. Chapter 305 Ambush. Chapter 305 Ambush. Elite Coder. Before the Water National Elemental Stone, on Dragon Cloud City's side, everyone had gathered close to observe the show as it unfolded. Since 3 days ago, the audience saw Yen Bongyi and Yu Yushan leading 10,000 men over. Some speculated that the two had found the keys to the water exit and were about to return in time. It became clear that they had no such intention. Instead of getting closer, they were setting up an array nearby, clearly an ambush. Yet for 3 days, all was quiet. The audience was observing unnerved, especially Grandmother and Long Yifei's group. All the preparations were clearly meant for Chu Qingqing and company. But were they going to fall for it that easily? Noon knew what was happening on Beast King Mountain, adding to their worries, their frowns never leaving their faces. They prayed with all their heart for their successors to not fall for it. Regent Estate's side was smiling. Estate Lord, eldest young master, has entered the final phase of the plan. Leng Wuchang stroked his beard. His eyes shined and his mouth perked up in a proud smile. Huangpu Tianyuan nodded. Sir Ling's mind is brilliant. I have no doubt you can purge that evil this time. As long as Sir Ling intervenes, not even that demon can escape. You're too kind, Estate Lord. I may have presented eldest young master with the plan, but it was his remarkable wits that led it to fruition. I do not dare take all the credit. Leng Wuchang faked modesty with an odd smile. Huangpu Tianyuan said, No, Sir Ling. This is all thanks to you. If it were you leading the operation, it would have been finished much sooner. Leng Wuchang looked at him deeply and nodded. He knew of Huangpu Tianyuan's dissatisfaction for his son, scared the young master earned enough merit to depose him. So he'd rather let Leng Wuchang take all the credit, all to undermine Huangpu Qingtian's achievements. Sigh, such is the Regent Estate, where father and son are fighting tooth and nail in pursuit of power. Leng Wuchang shook his head as he mocked them. Sir Ling, are you sure 10,000 men are enough to deal with Zhuofan? A smiling voice drifted over. Leng Wuchang turned to see Zhuge Changfeng flanked by his elders coming over with a crafty smile, eyes flashing. Leng Wuchang shook his head. My meager skill is only good for entertainment. I wouldn't dare boast before the great Prime Minister. As for this ambush, it isn't to deal with Zhuofan. Oh! Zhuge Changfeng raised an eyebrow, but then he said after a moment of pondering, First deal with the horse then the rider, right? Prime Minister Zhuge is truly wise. Leng Wuchang nodded. You know the saying, those whom God wishes to destroy, he first makes them mad. Zhuofan is not only powerful, he has many odd tricks up his sleeve. And let's not forget his devious mind and penchant for schemes. If we do not rob him of his reason, not even a foolproof plan conceived by us two together would work. By the sound of it, Sir Ling has already found his weakness. Or you wouldn't be so open with your designs. Raising his eyebrows, Zhuge Changfeng smiled. Who is it then? Luo Yunhai or? Ling Wuchang shook his head, his wording vague. Prime Minister Zhuge, you will know soon enough. I believe not even Sir would conceive it possible who his fatal weakness was. Zhuge Changfeng's reply. Ha ha ha, Sir Ling, you're even holding me in suspense. Very well, I'll just have to see for myself then, how that demon loses his mind. Ling Wuchang smiled back at the water national elemental stone. At this time, a group appeared on the big screen. Grandmother and Long Yifi froze at the sight of them. Their hearts tensed and cold sweat filled their fists. They wished nothing more than to shout at them, to warn them of their demise. A darn shame the teleportation array was one way only. Their warnings would fall on deaf ears while Ling Wuchang and Huangpu Tianyuan showed a snicker. They're finally here. Two teams were clearly distinguished, sword marquis abodes and veiled dragon pavilions. They were far quicker than Chu Qingqing and even met along the way. Just what was Zhuo Fan thinking when sending us here? We're clearly wasting time wandering all over the place. Xie Tianyang was holding a leaf in his mouth, brushing away a bush while complaining of boredom. Long Xingyun laughed. Second young master Xie, ever heard of the lies in truth, and truth in lies used in the art of war? To deceive one's enemy you must deceive your allies. Those three exits were nothing more than a lure for the enemy, while we changed our course midway towards our real purpose. Yeah, Brother Tianyang, you need to learn from Big Brother Zhuo. Even he knows more than you about what's going on. Xuening Xiang jumped in, pointing at Long Xingyun while calling out Xie Tianyang's flaws. Xie Tianyang sneered in silence, while his heart bled from anger. You're saying as if Zhuo Fan's every word is the unblemished truth. Long Xingyun nodded first, then his face twitched. The last sure has a mouth on her. What do you mean by even he knows? Are you saying I'm usually an ignorant Philistine? Do I look that stupid to you? Then, a cry broke their ceaseless argument. Long Kuei shouted as she pointed at the shining water crystal. There's the water exit. The map is real. The others perked up, thrilled at the prospect, and rushed over. Ha ha ha, the water exit is here. Brother Zhuo was right all along. Long Xingyun laughed. Running as well. Xie Tianyang mocked though. Why are you so chipper? We don't have the key, do we? Dunce, since Brother Zhuo told us to come here in particular, he must have gotten the keys without even us realizing it. Long Xingyun was over the moon, so much so he forgot who just spoke and cursed back. Xie Tianyang was annoyed but didn't let it show. Xuening Xiang, the picture of ignorance, fanned the flames. Yeah, dunce. Do you have rocks for brains? You think Big Brother Zhuo would have us come here on a whim? The speaker was clueless to the damage, while the listener found the words intentional to spite him. Xie Tianyang's flames of rage burnt hotter than lava. His fists clenched, his teeth grinded. Why does everyone look up to Zhuo Fan and always take me down a peg? He didn't much care about the rest, but even Ninger, the one he cared the most about, did it. He just couldn't accept it. A seed of hatred was planted in his heart, towards his brother who he went though life and death once a change no one there noticed. Before the water national elemental stone, Grandmother's group was so keyed up, their hearts practically flatlined as they prayed, "Don't come any closer, it's a trap." The utter powerlessness they felt watching their clansmen walk into the jaws of death was so strong she felt like her heart was being stabbed over and over, one step at a time. Ling Wuchang and Huangpu Tianyuan watched them getting closer and the grins turned sinister. It soon turned into joy at the expectancy for bloodshed that followed upon noticing a dainty figure among them all around the water exit. Yen Bongyi and Yu Yushan's forces laid in wait. Once the two noticed the carefree figure among their prey, they signaled, "Our target's here. Attack!" They both shouted in unison then, A glow started rising from beneath everyone's feet. 36 light pylons shot for the skies, trapping them all at the same time. Each of the pylon beams was shown to be housing a person. As the scenery began changing, the water exit vanished, soon replaced by bloody skies, and blood-tainted air. They seemed to have found themselves in another world. Not Beast King Mountain of Tianyu Empire. It was such an odd place. They may not even be in the martial Emperor continent. A 36-man array. Long Xingyun cried, "Damn it! We've been trapped." It was clear as day to all. This was not an array controlled by a single man, but by 36 people. Such a meticulous array needed ample time to be set in motion. In other words, this was a well-thought-out ambush, so much so it began well before they even rushed here. But how? Zhuofan told them to come here. Why would he lead them into a trap? None could accept what was before them and chose to deny reality. But the facts were laid bare for everyone. Zhuofan had sent them to hell. Give them no quarter. A shout unleashed a flood of 10,000 men coming at them from all directions. They were so panicked they couldn't tell where the enemy was coming from, thinking of nothing else than of escape, but trapped as they were, with all sides painted red, they had no way to distinguish the exit. Add to that the constant roars of the enemy, the fear gnawed at any semblance of reason they had left, waiting to be culled. Chapter 306 Deadly Miasma. Chapter 306 Deadly Miasma. Elite Coder. What do we do, brother? The frightened Long Kuei turned to Long Xingyun. Long Xingyun wasn't faring any better, his eyes darting everywhere. Noticing the 36 pylons, his face grew grave. If we want to survive, we have to first get out of the array. The 36 lights are tied together, making it impossible to break the array from the inside. We need to find the exit if we want to escape. Long Kuei and the rest were even more restless. Looking at the flood of enemies charging, their faces were ashen. How were they supposed to do that when that army would make sure to keep them trapped here even tighter than the array? The array's only use was to rob them of their chance to escape. It made even profound heaven experts flying impossible, to the extent that even 6 dragons and 1 phoenix were incapable of doing it. Everyone hung their heads in despair, having lost their will to fight. Humph, it's just finding an exit. Is that so hard? We'll just have to try them one by one. A snort came just as a black figure flashed into the enemy's ranks. Golden light blossomed as it flew in every direction. Wherever it landed, explosions resounded, paving the ground with hundreds of corpses. The blood flew into the air, only to fall right back down, onto the scattered limbs. They saw how the twisted smiles of the enemy had now turned into ones of horror at the sight of this man's sword. Marquis Abode's eldest young master, martial fanatic Xie Tianshang. Xie Tianshang rested his sword, but his cold eyes glinted like daggers. Any that met his gaze would feel as if stabbed by 1,000 swords. His dauntless figure stood unchallenged like an unparalleled sword. The enemy was deterred, in fear of what might happen if they got even an inch closer. Long Xingyun blinked, then turned ecstatic. Brother Xie lives up to be a true martial fanatic. How dependable! But of course, my brother has been obsessed with martial arts since young, training day in day out without a rest. If not for those 2 monsters, my brother would have been invincible. Xie Tianyang spoke with pride. Everyone else sighed inside. Xie Tianshang is the #1 swordsman in Tianyu. Not even 6 dragons and 1 phoenix can match his talent. Just that heaven-shaking dragon lord upstaged him, followed closely by that bad apple Zhuofan, sealing any chance at showcasing his might. With those 2 out of the picture, the world would finally bear witness to the true might of this martial fanatic. Rolling his eyes, Long Xingyun roared, "Brother Xie, clear a path. We're right behind you." Grinning, Xie Tianyang said, "Brother Long is so shrewd in bringing up the rear. When my brother pushes through the array and is too exhausted to carry on, you could just run off." "Ha ha ha, Brother Tianyang, no need to split hairs. We are allies here. You help me now, and I'll help you later. We will both benefit. Long Xingyun pointed at Xie Tianshang. Moreover, don't you find your brother quite willing to be made use of? Sure enough, Xie Tianshang's eyes lit up at this proposal, as if he was just waiting for it, all right. Every swing of the sword sent golden light everywhere. Flowing space's 9 forms were performed to the full extent of their splendor, at the expense of crushed enemies and strewn corpses. It only took seconds for the casualties to reach 1,000 as the surroundings glowed bloody. Now so too did the earth. Xie Tianyang shook his head as his brother was hell-bent on mowing through the enemy like they were training dummies. Sigh, the martial fanatic side of my brother is once again rearing its head. Nothing short of exhaustion or defeat could ever stop his blade now. The others found Sword Marquis Abode's eldest young master's bursting courage contagious. It reached a point where some even wanted to join the man in his charge, but taking a closer look, one saw a bloodshot Xie Tianshang, slaughtering every which way with a manic grin on his face, that threw a bucket of cold water on their enthusiasm. He'll kill us just the same. Long Xingyun rubbed his chin, nodding at the crazed figure. He guessed there was no pressure in finding the exit. At least with Xie Tianshang on a killing spree, the enemy would swiftly be disposed of. At the very least, sans Zhuofan and Huangpu Qingtian, Xie Tianshang had become the de facto god of war, killing gods, demons, Buddha and what not. Xie Tianshang, don't be so smug. Face me for a change. A shout revealed a black figure charging Xie Tianshang. Xie Tianshang was overjoyed. Ha ha ha, Yen Bongi, you're just in time. I grow tired of killing ants. Now I can finally hone my sword on you. Xie Tianshang pointed the sword at the sky. The sword energy burst with incredible might and sharpness. Yen Bongi squinted and leaned out of the way. The sword energy grazed his shoulder, peeling his flesh and making him clench his teeth from pain. The sword energy shot for the skies, where it exploded and rattled the 36 pylons. The men inside even had to spit blood. It dawned on everyone how mighty Xie Tianshang's sword truly was. Of the danger he represented, Yen Bongi couldn't afford to dodge again, forced to face Xie Tianshang head-on. A green miasma drifted from his hand as he made a palm attack for Xie Tianshang's face. Xie Tianshang turned serious and dodged in a rush. The miasma struck the earth with a bang, catching others in its path unprepared. It bored into them, eliciting a wail of agony, all while blood flowed like rivers from their twisted visage. In mere seconds, all that remained were foul and reeking puddles of blood, good only to make one's stomach turn. Xuanning Xiang hunkered behind Xie Tianyang as horror set in. The rest weren't faring any better, shocked at Yen Bongi's capacity for cruelty. Xie Tianshang squinted, his face stony, but not a trace of fear. Xie Tianshang's sword danced in his hand as he unleashed the 9 forms. Yen Bongi dodged in panic. Not for a second was he going to take the brunt of such deadly force. They hammered the array, and the 36 men in the light pylons heaved blood for a total of 9 times. Even the bloody sky dulled. The array was about to break. Yen Bongi was soaked in sweat, his heart a mess. If this kept up, he wouldn't even win, least of all kill the enemy. They had worked painstakingly in removing Zhuofan from the mix, only to meet another freak. Xie Tianshang. It was common knowledge that the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, Huangpu Qingtian excluded, were on the same level, more or less. But this guy. Yen Bongi's face sank. If this operation fails, the plan to end Zhuofan will fall through. Huangpu Qingtian wasn't going to take his failure lightly, that was for sure. Yen Bongi gnashed his teeth and released a 7-colored miasma, the signature move of Pill King Hall, Rainbow Cloud Palm. The miasma spread, swallowing enemy and friends alike, leaving behind naught but a bloody cesspool of festering pus. In the hands of Yen Bongi, with his poisonous body, the Rainbow Cloud Palm was even more devastating. It was not without its demerits either. As the poison grew in strength, so too did his agony. Rainbow Cloud Palm was a double-edged sword. Each time it was used it gnawed at the user's body. And because it was him using it, The poison traveled through him far faster than any of his clansmen. Yen Bongi's face visibly darkened, with thick green blood dripping from his mouth. The wound on his shoulder festered as well, looking to turn him into a blood puddle, but he bore it. His hands still releasing that devastating miasma, he had to complete Huang Pu Qingtian's mission, or he'd be dead either way. Xie Tianshang stared at the source of the miasma. He flicked his sword a few times, but the thick miasma swallowed them all like nothing. Xie Tianshang jumped back in the face of the spreading disease. Next to Long Xingyun they watched as hundreds of their enemies died a gruesome death, tormented amidst the drifting pestilence. How vicious! Not even his allies are spared. Xie Tianyang gnashed his teeth. Long Xingyun's face grew hard. We have no antidote for Pil King Hall's Rainbow Cloud Palm. He is invincible. Numbers are useless when facing him. Once Rainbow Cloud Palm is in play, his dominance is assured. More so now, in this array. It's just a matter of time before his poison kills us all. Isn't there anything we can do? Xie Tianshang trembled. Long Xingyun's eyes glinted. Of course there is. Break the array and the poison will scatter. Easy for you to say. I struck it 10 times, but it is still holding strong. I need more time we do not have. Xie Tianshang sighed at the dull bloody sky. The others gnashed their teeth as well, drawing back just as the miasma crept nearer. Chapter 307 Breaking the Array. Chapter 307 Breaking the Array. The 36 pylons created a sealed space, trapping everyone within its borders and preventing any outsider from looking into it. Not even the audience watching the water national elemental stone could pierce the veil. All they saw were the beams of light, mounting their unrest. Regent Estate's side was the calmest of the bunch, going by their broad and sinister smiles within the bushes just ahead of the pylons. Chu Qingqing's team, a late arrival, was looking at the scene in bewilderment. They couldn't make heads or tails of this recent change. Why did Zhuofan have them come here? A third-grade array? Chu Qingqing squinted. Luo Yunhai nodded. It also comes with a hidden army. For the ambush to succeed, the easiest would be an array with multiple controllers. Being slow on our way here had worked in our favor. For the trap to be sprung already, someone must have fallen for it. What? Are you saying Zhuofan had us walk into a trap? Chu Qingqing cried in disbelief. Luo Yunhai nodded. Although Brother Zhuo's every scheme has come to fruition and is unlikely to make such a mistake, our pressing matter at this point is to break the array. Chu Qingqing nodded after a pause, then shouted, Men, on me. We will break the array core and get them out? Understood. The men cupped their hands and charged alongside. Her grandmother's side was extremely worried. But Chu Qingqing's sudden arrival promised hope. At least the other two teams wouldn't suffer total defeat. Boom. Chu Qingqing struck the glowing pylons several times, until it was shuddering and flickering. But when there were 36 of them, each lending support, stabilizing the weaker link as such, Chu Qingqing's powerful yuan qi spread evenly among them. They were shaken but far from breaking. The rest assaulted the other beams. However pointless it was, grandmother's side was by themselves with worry. They were in a race against time. The longer they took, the heavier the casualties to the ones trapped inside in the trap. Long Xingyun and company were driven into a corner by the encroaching plague. When they ran out of places to retreat, some random subordinates were even pushed in front to make space. You are our vassals. Sacrificing yourself for your lord is downright honorable of you. They understood this logic as well and stepped forward without their master's urging. They braved the impending miasma, only to end up a festering pool of blood. Xuaningxiang was wrecked with sadness, tears streaming down. Aren't we all humans? Why must they sacrifice themselves? Therein laid the cruelty. If not them, who? The 7 houses? No matter how willing Long Xingyun and the rest were, which they weren't, the vassals would never accept it. Either it was easy to guess why. If they escaped this hell by the grace of their master's sacrifice, what future would their clans have? Extermination. So while this act looked quite virtuous and dauntless on the surface, at its core it all came down to saving their bloodlines. And who knew if their masters in their infinite mercy would perhaps look kindly upon their clans? The stream of sacrifices was endless, but the miasma forced them into a corner, with no way out. Long Xingyun turned glum. He turned to the dozen scattered men with a heavy heart. Any further sacrifices are pointless. It will hardly give us more room. Will we find our end here? His words made others lower their heads in grief. The earth, soaked in blood, only added to their sadness. Thousands of people came here, only to end up with barely enough to count on two hands. They couldn't deny their fate, certain to end up another bloody smear on the ground, joining the others. Oh, the tragedy! Boom! The sky shook at the sudden sound, and the bloody images around them dimmed some more. In Long Xingyun's eyes a faint hope blossomed. Someone is attacking the array. Yes, but what good will it do? By the time the array is broken, we won't even have bones left. Xie Tianshang looked at the sky, somber and dejected. His words cut at the others' expectation, at their hope. Long Xingyun waved him off. Don't say that. They might succeed. Long Xingyun patted the shoulder of the man next to him. Brother, what clan are you? For how long have you served the Veiled Dragon Pavilion? Chun clan from Tenebrous City. 150 years ago, we swore fealty to the Veiled Dragon Pavilion. His sunken face revealed he understood Long Xingyun's meaning. He bowed. I wish the eldest young master would look after my clan. You have followed my house for so long, and today's sacrifice won't be in vain. I, Long Xingyun, will never forget your devotion. Long Xingyun nodded gravely. The man's jaw was set, his eyes firm, and he charged at the miasma. Yet he barely touched it, and the poison was already gnawing at his flesh. Everyone watched as his blood soaked the ground in a matter of seconds. Xuanning Xiang wailed, burying her head in Xie Tianyang's shoulder. Xie Tianyang sighed, and patted her hand in consolation. It came as no surprise to him, not how often he saw the 7 houses abuse their privilege. Long Xingyun stood cheerful in the freshly emptied spot. His calm face begged the question, did he even bother to remember the man's clan's name? Well, since someone was bashing the array, hope slipped into his heart. A second ago he wasn't intent on making more senseless sacrifices, not when they were doomed to die together. But now, even if he were to die, he'd make damn sure he was going to be last. What if he lived? Chu Qingqing and her men had struck the pylons of light dozens of times now without any result, each failure mounting their worry. Grandmother was sweating as well, while Xie Xiaofeng and Long Yifei, fearful of their son's fate, were devastated. No one there was more disturbed than them. Dugu Zhantian stood straight like a blade among them, eyes fixed on the image in silent worry. Dugu Lin muttered, Marshal, this 36 heavenly stars array. Stop, Yunhai should know a way. Dugu Zhantian waved his hand, his eyes confident. The tigers nodded, watching the young man in the national elemental stone with a smile. Luo Yunhai scrutinized the array and said, Edifice Lord Chu, the 36 heavenly stars array is laid in accordance with the 36 stars of the Big Dipper. If one holds, they all do. If one crumbles, they all collapse. Only by attacking the life gate will we tear the death gate open and break the array. You have a way? Chu Qingqing asked. Luo Yunhai nodded. This array is commonly used in the army. I've followed the Godfather for 2 years to learn about this array and ask Edifice Lord Chu to lend me all authority. Done. Chu Qingqing agreed on the spot. Luo Yunhai turned solemn and shouted, Listen all of you. Dong Tianba, take 300 men and attack the life gate in the center west. Xiao Dandan, take 300 men and attack the second death gate in the east. The rest will be with me in attacking the seal gate. The men set off at once like dragons. The 3 teams started raining havoc on the 36 pylons of light. When Dong Tianba attacked the light pylons at the life gate, he sent a ripple to the other beams. Then Xiao Dandan and Luo Yunhai's teams attacked their own targets and things changed. The other two ripples prevented the first from spreading to the other pylons. The three ripples converged onto a single pylon, stopping it from letting the others share the load. Soon, the man inside the pylon cried out, and as the pylon vanished, the man blew to pieces. The 36 light pylons had lost their balance, and they could no longer support each other. Dugujantian laughed. Nice. The kid didn't waste the 2 years he was next to me. The 4 tigers of Tianyu nodded in pride. They were the ones who brought up this younger brother with them, and seeing him make a name for himself in the esoteric debate filled them with glee and pride. Grandmother's side nodded, glad as well. Who'd have thought the Luo clan didn't just have creepy Zhuofan worthy of notice, but the young clan head as well? Surely not them. What surprised them the most were Zhuofan's decisions. They all knew who brought Luo Yunhai into the limelight, Zhuofan. With Zhuofan always taking the lead in schemes and battles, the third-rate clan's kid would hardly show his face, would hardly prove his worth of being under Dugujantian's care. Chu Qingqing was glad inside. Happy this array that had many of them vexed over popped open with a little effort from Luo Yunhai. Luo Yunhai didn't let this minor success cloud his judgment. The viewing gate is open. Attack the pain gate. Understood. The men responded, filled with zeal. Regent Estate's side turned glum, with only Ling Wuchang ever sporting that faint mystifying smile. Ha ha ha, it's of no consequence. Chapter 308 The Real Target is Her. Chapter 308 The Real Target is Her. Boom. Booms sounded everywhere as Luo Yunhai commanded his 3 teams left and right. The 36 pylons of light were reduced to 26 in a matter of seconds. The others were stunned, cheering for the Luo clan. Their young master had grown up at last. He will make a fine clan head. When half of the pylons crumbled, the array formation was constantly shuddering from the strain. 18 pylons were hardly enough to sustain such a large array. Luo Yunhai shouted, "Fall back!" They all rushed away, but some were too slow in their retreat and the exploding array engulfed them. Boom! The force of the blast smashed into the surroundings, while the unfortunate few who got caught in it were sent everywhere in pieces. Robbed of life before they could utter even a whimper, the lucky survivors saw before them a foul, thick mist. They drew a breath, rejoiced having come out unscathed, only to be swallowed whole by the towering miasma. They wailed and cried even as their flesh dissolved into blood and pus, soaking the mud. Chu Qingqing cried, "Watch out! It's Pill King Hall's rainbow cloud palm." A layer of ice appeared on her body as she spoke. She gathered her palms and erected a cold barrier. The miasma touched the barrier and let out hissing sounds, eating through it in moments. Chu Qingqing was shocked. Not even vicious Pill King's poison was that toxic. The saying that no one could defend against Yen Bongi's rainbow cloud palm, who had a poison body, wasn't unfounded. Gnashing her teeth, Chu Qingqing's only option was to retreat. Made painfully aware by the increasing number of victims, the miasma swallowed and dissolved. Ha ha ha, Edifice Lord Chu, you're just in time. I'll never forget this life debt. Following the unbridled laughter, people trapped inside noticed Chu Qingqing, Long Xingyun and Xie Tianshang's teams were free now. Just that they were reduced to less than 10 people. The core of the 2 houses was safe. While the vassals had gone to the underworld, technically there was one vassal who had pulled through, the Shui clan siblings, thanks in no small part to Xie Tianyang and Zhuofan's fame, or who knew when in this ordeal they'd be used as honorable sacrifices. Luck was with them at least, with the array giving way just as the miasma was about to devour them. They flew away the instant they could, joining up with Chu Qingqing. Long Yifei and Xie Xiaofeng saw their sons safe and sound and eased a breath they didn't know they held. But looking at the sky covered in poison, then at the bloody mud below their feet, the gruesome hellscape left them soaked. The esoteric debate of this century was far more malicious. Perhaps the fact that the 7 houses were officially at war had something to do with it. For appearance's sake, the 7 houses abstained from a full-out war, letting their vassals be their proxy. But now, the vassals weren't the only ones turned into rivers of blood. The 7 houses were tearing into each other just as savagely. It was easy to imagine what would have happened if Chu Qingqing was even a moment slower in her rescue. The Sword Marquis's abode and Veiled Dragon Pavilion's bloodlines would have been cut short at the hands of Yen Bongi. The house lords of the 2 victimized houses sobbed inside. They prayed that the 2 could come out alive from the most cruel and savage battle that had ever happened over the past millennium. Lord Yen Buigong's face bloomed with the most genial smile conceivable. He even made obvious signs to his allies as if to say, see that? That's the true power of our top art, Rainbow Cloud Palm. With one hand, the world's my oyster. No one would dare come closer. Everyone gave him a cursed look. Their disdain for this petty man's flair for the dramatic was evident. One had to admit though, Rainbow Cloud Palm turned Yen Bongi into a killing machine. In case of anyone else using it, willpower was capable of pushing the enemy through adversity and come out alive. But replace the user with Yen Bongi, and they would dissolve into a bloody stain on the ground before they could even reach him. This was the horror. Yen Bongi of 6 dragons and 1 phoenix. The plague dragon brought to life. Only Regent Estate was shaking their heads, clearly unimpressed by the Rainbow Cloud Palm. On the other side, Chu Qingqing's team was pushed back further and further away from the spreading miasma. It ate through trees and even the toughest rocks, with the first turned to dust, and the second into an acrid liquid. The few cultivators too slow to keep up were swallowed by the toxic fumes, with only screams as an indication of what awaited on the other side. Chu Qingqing's brow was set in a heavy scowl. We have to stop him, or all our men will die. Long Xingyun nodded. True. Every great clan and house in Tianyu is watching us from beyond the water exit. It would be a stain on our honor to allow Yen Bongi, a single man, push us 3 back. I have a way, but we need to combine our power. The risk may be high, but are you willing? Chu Qingqing and Xie Tianshang traded looks, then nodded. Speak. The 2's eyes lit up and nodded while a grinning Long Xingyun whispered in their ears. The 3 stopped shirking away from the pestilence and charged instead, giving others quite the shock. Are they suicidal? Not even 6 dragons and 1 phoenix are exempt from dying from that poison. But what happened next was the true shocker. Xie Tianshang took the lead, then slashed. A bright golden and unbridled energy cut into the miasma. The poison was forced to scatter, revealing a clear path ahead. The 3 followed the path, just as the miasma was coming back with a vengeance and trapping the trio. Chu Qingqing's prompt response was in the form of a flash of cold. Her hands moved, raising an ice wall around them and keeping them safe from the miasma, but the constant hissing bore testament to the poison's power, and the short life of the ice wall. Then again, it was enough to buy them an instant, and that was all they needed. Long Xingyun finally released the attack he had built up all this time in his palm. A dragon image pierced forth, forming a new path. The 3 followed. The ice wall gave away under the acidic poison behind them. But the sealed exit didn't seem to bother them. They had come here with no intent of retreating. In such a manner, Xie Tianshang and Long Xingyun showed the way, while Chu Qingqing kept the miasma at bay. They soon found themselves at the heart of it, the source of the poison. Xie Tianshang's last attack parted the thick poison, revealing Yen Bongi constantly spewing blood. Yen Bongi jerked in shock, sustaining the Rainbow Cloud Palm for so long has seeped the poison into his organs, and it was in his worst hour that the trio revealed themselves before him. He was too weak to even hold back one, least of all a team of 3 panicking. Yen Bongi was ready to bolt, but Long Xingyun had a different plan in mind. Appearing next to him, this is a once-in-a-blue-moon chance. I am an avid believer of one man's pain is another man's gain. Snickering, Long Xingyun struck boom. The palm attack sent the defenseless Yen Bongi tumbling through the air. He was heavily wounded. The moment he flew was also the moment the miasma vanished. The 3 surrounded the wheezing Yen Bongi, noticing the glee in each other's eyes. Lord Yen Bagong raved, "Despicable and shameless bunch. All he got from the crowd was contempt. This is a house war. You call 3 on 1 unfair? What about Yen Bongi's army outnumbering others, 5 to 1 just moments ago? Yen Bagong noticed his slip of the tongue, and Went Red Grandmother and Long Yifi were ecstatic. But a peek at Regent Estate's unfazed reactions sank their moods. Just what are they up to? Then, Chu Qingqing's raging caught their attention. Yen Bongi, you have no respect for human life, not an ounce of mercy to be using such foul art. You deserve death. The earth soaked in blood was testament to the thousands of lives his pestilence had reaped. Chu Qingqing couldn't stop herself from cursing the weakened Yen Bongi. Long Xingyun waved her off. Ha ha ha, Edifice Lord Chu, don't be upset. Capturing Pil King Hall's Yen Bongi makes all those thousands of sacrifices worth it. Not to mention that most of the deaths were from his side. This is clearly a worthy victory, ha ha ha. Chu Qingqing and the other women snorted at his laughter. You're saying that in war, it will all be fine as long as their side has the higher casualties? Do their lives mean nothing? Are all men that cold-blooded? They only dared complain in their hearts, having understood now the cruelty of war. Ha ha ha, you're not the only winners. With a bang, Xie Tianyang was sent flying. His spot was instantly replaced by Hell Valley's Yu Yushan, by eldest young master's orders. The more gruesome this last death is, the better. I was vexed on how to go about achieving this, but now I have figured it out. With a dark smile, Yu Yushan turned to the panicking Xuaningxiang. Her eyes reflected the claw clutching at her neck. The man exclaimed jubilantly, Miss, you should be honored. We sacrificed so many people just so we could let him see your twisted and mangled face. Ha ha ha. Chapter 309 Ghost Hand. Chapter 309 Ghost Hand. Ninger. Shuigang and Shuilin cried out and attacked. The notion of fighting someone way out of their league was lost on them in their frantic worry for their sister. Yu Yushan spared them no glance, only a wave. A gale dealt with the pesky brothers, sent them flying, and they were left to fall powerless on the ground, but their eyes still brimmed with concern for Xuaningxiang. Xuaningxiang shouted, Big brother, second brother. Ha ha ha, easy now. They're fine. I have no interest in swatting down flies. Yu Yushan's malicious grin widened as he had the fragile girl in his grip. Whoosh. Suddenly, a sword flashed by. Xie Tianyang had picked himself up at some point and was aiming for the man's throat. Flowing space's 9 forms, empty net. The space froze and even Yu Yushan looked slowed, as the only moving object was the swift sword attack at his throat. Unfazed in the slightest, the man merely pinched the glinting cold blade. The sword stopped dead in its tracks. The next thing he knew, Xie Tianyang found Yu Yushan's sneer entering his ears. Humph. I would have been a bit worried if the flowing space's 9 forms came from your brother, but you ha ha ha, never mind. Yu Yushan shifted and both sword and man were seen shooting through the air, slamming into the earth and spitting blood. He found no energy left in him to get up. All he could do was painfully witness Yu Yushan's vile hand squeeze Ninger's neck. Chu Qingqing, Xie Tianshang and Long Xingyun rushed over. Yu Yushan merely displayed a frown and placed Xuaningxiang towards them as he shouted, Don't come any closer, or the lady gets it. The 3 halted on the spot. They slowly put down their feet and turned grave. The lady was from a trifling second-rate clan, no different from a vassal, but her status was a bit special. She had strong ties with sword marquise abodes Xie Tianyang and soaring demonic dragon Zhuofan. Whether it was for the ones behind her or for herself, they had to avoid playing a part in her death at any cost. Yu Yushan's threat wouldn't have worked on them otherwise. With both sides fully knowledgeable of the delicate balance, Yu Yushan regarded them with hatred and a twisted grin. Who'd have seen this coming? High and mighty disciples from 3 houses are now shaking in their boots in fear of seeing a second-rate clan's head falling off. What a sight, ha ha ha. Yu Yushan turned to the said miss with a raised eyebrow. See that, my lady? They care for you so much. And the one who made it all possible is that man. Ironic how it includes your current predicament as well. If only he didn't exist, who among us would waste time to mind a small and insignificant lady? Xuaningxiang gnashed her teeth, knowing fully well who he was talking about. The three close by knew it too. The focus behind all this planning and ambushing had been Zhuofan all along. This proves how dear Xuaningxiang was to Zhuofan, making it obvious why the enemy would throw away all their honor and go after a frail girl. It all came down to dealing with Zhuofan, all the more reason why the trio couldn't be hasty, lest they find themselves short of Xuaningxiang. And with an enraged Zhuofan breathing down their necks, the three gave each other a hidden nod, being overt as they looked for a chance. Yu Yushan was one of 6 dragons and 1 phoenix after all, so how could he leave an opening for the three to exploit? The scene turned into a standstill, with neither side moving on the other. The audience beyond the water exit were shocked by the sudden development. A mere second-rate clan's miss was Zhuofan and the other's weakness? Go figure. Luo Yunchang clenched her fists, worried sick. She had long been made aware of Ning'er's importance to Zhuofan. Neither she nor Chu Qingqing could reach the same place as that girl in Zhuofan's heart. She refrained from waking Zhuofan to this realization out of worry and fear. Fear that Zhuofan would further distance himself from her. It had reached such a point where before the final battle, Zhuofan's heart was a mess. He kept flipping out yet never could find the root of the problem, blaming it all on his restless mind. Only Luo Yunchang knew this was jealousy over Ning'er and Xie Tianyang seeing each other every day. With Zhuofan's one-track mind for cultivation alone, his knowledge about love and anything skirting around the subject was a huge void. Without knowing what caused such deep unrest within him, he chose to force himself to be stone-cold. His mind had found peace, but all he did was stop the flood by building a dam around it, and once that dam cracked, the surging tide would consume him. Luo Yunchang could practically see Zhuofan's pained face. She turned to the trapped Xuaningxiang, praying for her safety. Ning'er, you must survive, or Zhuofan will go mad. Among all viewers, the only ones who truly cared for Xuaningxiang were her father and grandfather. Seeing their daughter and grandchild in the hands of Yu Yushan robbed them of their breath. Their hearts were about to break. Why has the kind and cheerful Ning'er met with such disaster? Zhuge Changfeng took everything in with a glint in his eye. Sirling, is this the fatal weakness you've been mentioning? Ha ha ha, Prime Minister, I have conducted a thorough observation, and that girl is Zhuofan's biggest worry. He might not even realize it himself. Ling Wuchang smiled. Zhuge Changfeng raised an eyebrow. How did Sirling find out then, if even he doesn't know? Ha ha ha, simple. A man will always reveal what he yearns for without even realizing it. When Zhuofan first came to Dragon Cloud City, he and our eldest young master clashed. That time he saved 2 women, one was the Luo clan's young miss, while the other was the Shui girl. That was all it took? Zhuge Changfeng smiled. Ling Wuchang shook his head. It wouldn't have been that simple, but his eyes naturally drifted to the Shui girl. It begged the question, if he would ignore even the safety of his clan's young miss, and since he's only interested in the other girl, what place does she hold in his heart? Also, on the fighting stage, when Zhuofan was taken by his awe-inspiring first victory, who was it that he went to first? Ha ha ha, when a man shows his heroic side, he wants to share it. Not with his drinking buddies, but with the woman he loved. These are all subconscious actions, but also the ones that betrayed his heart the most. Zhuge Changfeng nodded in understanding. Sirling is truly perceptive. From just 2 encounters you have grasped the kid's weakness. I have to say that I'm impressed. You're far too kind. I don't deserve it. The Prime Minister's wisdom is matchless. I dare not compare. I have never been able to see through the Prime Minister's thoughts, not one bit. Ling Wuchang gave a half bow in respect. But the way he was looking at Zhuge Changfeng in the eye, it was more akin to a challenge. With a glint in Zhuge Changfeng's eyes, the old man laughed. Sirling is interested in me as well? Am I to assume I am your next target? How can that be? I'd never dare do that to you, Prime Minister. Ling Wuchang shook his head. Zhuge Changfeng gave a cold smile in return, not minding it. I don't mind playing a round or two once Sir Ling has dealt with that monkey. Shuddering, Ling Wuchang's eyes shined with battle spirit of Tianyu's three great minds. He had always been second to Zhuge Changfeng. He now had the chance to face the man, and although he was somewhat uncertain, the excitement prevailed. Every man with power would do anything to fight for the title of number one in the world, unwanted contriver included. On the other side, Yu Yushan saw the trio unmoving and turned to the frightened Xuaningxiang. Girl, that OL poisoner wanted to dissolve you into a bloody smear on the ground for that kid. But I found such a revenge lackluster and figured out a much better way. You wish. Big brother Zhuo will definitely save me. Xuaningxiang struggled as she cursed, her hand tracing the thunder ring each time the thunder ring flickered. Zhuofan was bound to swoop in and carry her from the jaws of danger. Big brother Zhuo. Her heart cried those three little words. Absolutely convinced of her delusional fairy tale, Xie Tianyang gnashed his teeth, crawling forth to save his love. He didn't go far, once again taken by weakness. Only his bloodshot eyes never left Yu Yushan, wishing nothing more than to devour him. Shaking his head, Yu Yushan ignored his surroundings and enjoyed making the last squirm. Girl, your man won't come. While we ambushed you, he was going to Huangpu Qintian to fight over the fourth brimming sacred pill. Ha ha ha, now that I recall, weren't you supposed to be a cauldron for us? Although late by a few years, it's never too late to receive your fate. Yu Yushan touched her head as it released eerie sounds and gray energy. Everyone cried, Ghost hand? He wants to take Ning'er's essence. Chapter 310, You're Too Late. Chapter 310, You're Too Late. Elite Coder. Ning'er. Xie Tianyang shouted himself hoarse. No matter how much he wanted and tried to save her, he just couldn't muster the strength to even get up. Essence was a soul's foundation, its core. Its role was to condense divine sense and anchor the soul. Once taken away, the soul would scatter while the flesh would keep on living merely as an empty shell. Chu Qingqing jerk. Yu Yushan wasn't using her as a bargaining chip, but putting her to death. Her team acted at once far too late. However, Yu Yushan's gray energy rippled, and he lifted the hand placed on Xuaningxiang's head. As if pulling something, Xuaningxiang's face grew ashen, sheer terror painted on her face as she spoke faintly, Be big brother Zhuo, save me. Then, the top of her head flashed in a blinding light and a pure mode of energy rose above. Xuaningxiang's eyes dulled, having lost the energy to stand, even her cheerful nature dissipated. As she fell to the ground, Yu Yushan was overjoyed at the dazzling light, intoxicated even. Such pure essence is rarer than rare. What a waste letting her live for so long. Fortunately, it has found its use in the end. Yu Yushan placed the essence in a censer, then sealed the lid before putting it away. Yu Yushan, release Ning'er's essence. Chu Qingqing's delicate voice came. Just as her palm was poised to attack, Yu Yushan replied in kind. The two attacks met, and were both forced back. Yu Yushan took the recoil to his advantage and flew away in laughter. Ha ha ha, without her essence her soul will last for a few more days, enough for that punk to say his last goodbyes. Pass this along, would you? If he wants revenge, we'll be waiting at the Earth exit. Chu Qingqing glared in hatred at the fleeting Yu Yushan just then. Long Xingyun and Xie Tianshang flew in front of him and cut off his retreat. Yu Yushan, don't think you can get away from me with murder. Xie Tianshang's sword flew. The bright and thick sword attack crossed the entire sky. Long Xingyun snickered, he, now that you're here, don't even think about leaving. Boom! The incredible sword and palm attacks startled Yu Yushan. With 2 against 1, 6 dragons and 1 phoenix at that, he had no hope of escaping. In his desperation, he released his spirit animal to take the brunt as he escaped. Pa. The scorching eagle was struck as it was still making sense of its surroundings. The 2 profound heaven experts' attacks weren't that threatening, But the eagle still cried in pain. It turned its head dumbfounded. Where's master? He had let him out, but there was no sight of him. Xie Tianxiang and Long Xingyun were stunned. He is lower than vermin. To even use a 5th-level spiritual beast to cover his ass, he is scum. But we'd be far worse if we wouldn't accept this sacrifice. Xie Tianxiang and Long Xingyun smiled coldly and attacked the spirit animal. The duo released their own beasts to attack Yu Yushan's beast and put it down for good. The scorching eagle was devastated. What the hell? Can someone please tell me what is going on? Why am I suddenly in a deadly situation? No one cared enough to enlighten the beast. The two beasts and their masters surrounded it. They beat it into submission and tears, turning it into spoils of war. The fleeting Yu Yushan sighed and cried, "Sorry partner, everything is for the mission." "Brother Yu, wait!" A panicked cry reached him. Yu Yushan found Yan Bangyi next to him. "OL, poisoner, how did you escape?" Yu Yushan was stunned, smiling at his fortune. Yan Bangyi said, "It's thanks to you distracting them. I slipped away after taking a pill. If I had known, I wouldn't have used my spirit animal." "Oh, and why didn't you take out your own spirit animal to save me?" Yan Bangyi smirked. "Sure, and what good would 3 men and 3 beasts do against 1 man and 2 beasts? It would only end up sacrificed like your own in the end." Faltering, Yu Yushan's face twitched. "This is our mission, not mine alone." He had lost the most in this. Yan Bangyi was quite hurt as well, yet pleased as punch, ready for his reward. Yu Yushan's anger only rose back to Long Xingyun. The man and beast team clobbered the scorching eagle down to its last breath, then placed it in his ring. Only then they flew to provide help to Xie Tianyang and others. Chu Qingqing's girls helped Xuaningxiang up, but her dead eyes and fading life force left them in grief. Chu Qingqing's eyes teared, and placed a hand on her head. Dong Xiaowan cried, "Edifice Lord Chu, what are you doing?" With Lady Ning'er's essence taken, her mind is in chaos and her soul is about to scatter. The agony is no different from having one's marrow pierced by 1,000 needles. The pain is enough to harm the soul. It's better to release her from the torment. Chu Qingqing gnashed her teeth, her heart bleeding at the injustice. Dong Xiaowan was stunned. She looked away as tears streamed down. The Shui clan and Xie Tianyang weren't by Ning'er's side, but the words cut them deep. Still they hoped to save Ning'er, even if it was a flimsy hope. But none wanted to put her through such torment. Only Ling Wuchang nodded. Not a bad way to die. At least better than muddying the ground with blood. Yu Yushan showed quite the initiative in this mission. Huangpu Tianyuan smiled. "Ning'er, please don't blame me." Looking at Xuaningxiang's pale face, Chu Qingqing's palm was ready to strike. But then, Chu Qingqing looked stunned as Xuaningxiang's dainty hand stopped her. With barely any strength left in her, even with her eyes dull, she still held on to the last bit of energy, holding back the attack. A deflated and weak smile graced her lips. "Edifice Lord Chu, please give me more time. I want to see Big Brother Zhuo one last time." Chu Qingqing's words were stuck in her throat. She knew the pain of having one's soul scattered, but nonetheless, Ning'er wished to wait for Zhuofan. As a woman, especially a woman who loved the same man she did, Chu Qingqing's heart was in such pain that she turned around. Xuaningxiang gave a faint smile. "Thank you." Once Xuaningxiang and the Shui brothers recovered enough with the help of pills, they rushed to Xuaningxiang's side. The pale face and increasingly weakened figure filled them with sorrow. Xie Tianyang wanted to go get her essence back, but Xie Tianxiang held him back. The other side had Huangpu Qingtian, and neither of them were his match. Xie Tianxiang may be a martial fanatic, but he knew his limits. Before they could do anything else, however, they had to wait for Zhuofan and discuss it. But even after 2 days, Zhuofan was nowhere in sight. Xuaningxiang only got worse. At the brink of death, Xie Tianyang was always by her side. In tears in the afternoon of the 3rd day, Xuaningxiang and Xie Tianyang saw their thunder ring flashing. Xuaningxiang was moments away from passing, but her eyes shined and a smile appeared. He came. Boom! Lightning crashed and Zhuofan landed. He saw less than 1,000 men and his heart seized. He asked Chu Qingqing nervously, Is everyone all right? Their faces were dull and words had left them. Zhuo Fan's heart skipped a beat, feeling the gravity of the situation. Xie Tianyang's bloodshot eyes turned to him, his voice laced with hatred. You're too late. Far too late. Zhuo Fan was taken aback seeing the brother he went through life and death with show such an expression. But then he noticed something and his lips quivered. How is Ninger? Xie Tianyang only closed his eyes, but tears never stopped flowing. Zhuo Fan grew more nervous as he approached slowly with shaky legs. He didn't want to accept that because of him, Huangpu Qingtian had moved against Ninger, a sweet and frail girl. As the sad and despondent people slowly made way to reveal a delicate figure, Zhuo Fan's mind was blown away, rooted on the spot. Chapter 311 Berserk. Chapter 311 Berserk. Elite Coder. Brother Zhuo, you're back? Xuaningxiang was so weak that her eyes were now dead voids. But she forced herself to show a smile, to ease everyone's minds. They all knew she wasn't long for this world. Zhuo Fan released his discerning field. He shook for a moment and gnashed his teeth. Ninger's essence. Zhuo Fan's hands tightened. How long? Chu Qingqing spoke dully. 3 days. Taking a deep breath, Zhuo Fan closed his eyes. He felt something warm flowing down his face. Once essence left the body, it had to be returned in maximum 1 day for the person to be saved. With 3 days passing, even if he had the power to return it, he couldn't save her. Xuaningxiang understood his pain and smiled, like everything would be all right. Big brother Zhuo, you said you'd come for me 5 days later. You didn't lie to me. You came back. Xuaningxiang struggled to raise her hand, the thunder ring flickering on her finger. Big brother Zhuo, you held our promise. Listening to her faint and concerned voice, Zhuo Fan still kept his eyes shut. He was afraid that after looking at her, he wouldn't be able to take it, his heart giving in to the flooding emotions. Then Zhuo Fan forced those impulses down, achieving calm. He opened his tranquil eyes, his voice plain, Ninger, I was late. Big brother Zhuo, it's all right. You weren't late. To me, today is the 5th day. Xuaningxiang said to him, Big brother Zhuo, will you touch your ring to mine and fulfill our promise? Zhuo Fan drew closer to the weakened girl, showing his flickering thunder ring. Xuaningxiang could not see, but the sound reaching her ears made her show a smile. Big brother Zhuo, I know you must be feeling guilty, but it wasn't your fault. I believe you were just as taken by their schemes as we were by their ambush. I do not blame you. They even said they came to kill me for you. I am happy. This proves Big brother Zhuo cares about me the most, for them to pay attention to a girl like me. Tightening his hands, Zhuo Fan fell silent, but his eyes exploded in rage. Brother Tianyang, didn't you want to touch rings as well? What are you waiting for? I don't have much time. I still long to hear our 3 rings flicker. Xuaningxiang smiled at Xie Tianyang. Xie Tianyang's heart was consumed by grief, tears flooding his eyes as he touched his ring to the other 2. The 3 thunder rings let out a bright light and intense crackling. Xuaningxiang closed her eyes at peace. I wish we could return to those days in the All-Beast mountain range. Pa! Xuaningxiang's hand slacked. She was gone. But there was no pain or regret on her pale face. It was impossible for anyone who died from a scattered soul to show such an expression. Because the agony of having one's soul ripped to pieces would twist their face into a horrifying visage, but not Xuaningxiang. She only showed content. Even Zhuge Changfeng, Leng Wuchang and Duge Zhantian beyond the national elemental stone showed a reaction. They had never seen such a pure and innocent girl. It was a true loss for her to suffer such a gruesome death. Zhuge Changfeng sighed. No wonder the kid is so touched by this girl. She is a true rarity. An evil soul will always look for pure souls to lean on for comfort. But once the pure soul leaves, the evil soul would find itself alone and maddened. No one can prevent it. Leng Wuchang caressed his beard. His sigh showed compassion, but the glint in his eyes spoke another truth. Zhuge Changfeng eyed him coldly. Sirling, when playing with an angry beast, beware not to get mangled yourself. Ha ha ha, it's fine, Prime Minister. The most feared are the cold and calculating beasts, while rampant ones are mere brutes, easy to handle. Ling Wuchang showed a crafty smile. Zhuge Changfeng shook his head and sighed, looking at Zhuofan. Kid, how could you fall so easily to their games? Shui clan head and patriarch were paralyzed watching Ninger leave this world. Luo Yunchang rushed to help them, although just as overwhelmed with grief Shui Gang and Shui Lin wailed by Ninger's side. Xie Tianyang panted, his eyes red, his sword clenched in his hand. Zhuofan, Huangpu Qingtian is waiting for you at the earth exit. Let's go together and avenge Ninger. That's suicide. You're walking into a trap. Here we have the water exit, and we can win the esoteric debate as long as we return to Dragon Cloud City. Zhuofan's eyes never strayed from Xuaningxiang. He was calm, his eyes an endless abyss. Xie Tianyang's vein popped on his forehead, and he glared at him. Bastard, is that all you have to say? Ninger died because of you, and that's all you can think of? Are you a cold-blooded animal? That's exactly what I am. Haven't you figured that out yet? Zhuofan deadpanned. My objective is to win the esoteric debate. The human cost is irrelevant. Entering Beast King Mountain means you've assumed the risk of dying. There is no one you can blame for the choices you make. Bastard! Xie Tianyang's swing sent Zhuofan flying as he raved. I don't care how you treat others, but Ninger died because of you. Zhuofan picked himself up, blood trickling from his lips, yet his tone was as flat as before. As I've said, after coming to Beast King Mountain, you have no one else to blame for your fate. But this girl shouldn't have come. She was too weak. Xie Tianyang was shuddering, his eyes flashing with bloodthirst. Chu Qingqing and her girls looked at Zhuofan with no little reproach and blame. Has this man become dead inside? How can he say such cruel things, now of all times? Long Xingyun was the only one who nodded. Brother Zhuo is right. The esoteric debate is fraught with danger and no one can guarantee one's survival. The top priority is unchanged, to leave this place as soon as possible. Brother Zhuo, I heard you snatched the fourth brimming sacred pill. Don't forget your brothers and leave us one as well. I will. Zhuofan nodded. Whoosh. Xie Tianyang had had enough. His killing intent spiked, his eyes bloodshot and his sword pierced for Zhuofan. Bastard! I knew this was all a diversion. You threw us along as bait while you went for the brimming sacred pill. You killed Ninger. What? That's Flowing Space's 9 forms. Stop, Tianyang. Xie Tianshang cried for him in panic. For him to use Flowing Space's 9 forms on Zhuofan, he was fully intent on killing him. They were as close as brothers, so how did it come to this? He was too late. Xie Tianyang's attack shot for Zhuofan, who merely laid on the ground when the sword attack was upon him. A mere flash of golden light from his eye blinked it out of existence. He then popped behind Xie Tianyang and struck his neck. Boom! Xie Tianyang laid in a meter-wide hole. Out cold. The shock was palpable on everyone's faces. They knew of Zhuofan's power, but hearing about it and seeing it for themselves were two different things. The second young master of Sword Marquis's abode was dealt with in one blow. Xie Tianshang cupped his hands. Brother Zhuo, please forgive my reckless brother. No need. We're leaving. Zhuofan's hand flashed and 2 blue crystals sank into the water exit's groove. The water exit then released a light pillar towards the heavens. Zhuofan pointed. The array is open, let's move. At Zhuofan's invitation, Xie Tianshang and the others breathed easier. He carried his brother, while Shui Gang took his sister's body. They passed through the light and arrived in Dragon Cloud City. At the familiar sight, they all relaxed as if they had escaped hell. Zhuge Changfeng smiled. Sirling, by the looks of it, the savage beast hasn't gone mad. In fact, he handled everything with exceeding calm. Ling Wuchang frowned as his eyes were skeptical. Was I wrong? Chu Qingqing came to Zhuofan, but didn't walk through the exit. Zhuofan, I was wrong about you. A cold and ruthless man like you isn't worthy of a woman's love. Zhuofan just stood there. Darling, you, Xiao Dandan shook her head in disappointment, then went away as well. Dong Xiaowan's group merely sighed before following. They were the winners, but nobody felt like one. The prevalent mood was glum and despondent. The only one left was Chu Qingqing. She walked to the array without sparing him a second look. But then she caught sight of the bloodstains on the ground, and was stunned. Looking closer, Zhuofan's hands were so tightly clenched. His nails had dug into his flesh, and blood trailed between his fingers. Zhuofan had the diamond body. Just what kind of power did he wield to even harm himself? Chu Qingqing cried, Zhuofan, you! But Zhuofan pushed her through the pillar, and she found herself back in Dragon Cloud City. Chu Qingqing was worried sick now, looking at the water national elemental stone. She shouted at the cold Zhuofan beyond the veil, Zhuofan, what are you doing? A pity the array only worked one way. No one could make sense of Drifting Flower's Edifice Lord's outburst. Why was she so distraught? It was soon made clear. However, Zhuofan pulled the keys and threw them away. His bloody hands spread. His body shivered. His eyes were bloodshot as lightning crackled. All that was heard was his roar, Ninger. The rage had been held back long enough, and it now consumed his mind. Chapter 312, Your Life is Mine. Chapter 312, Your Life is Mine. Elite Coder. Lightning twisted around him like snakes. It dawned him with an armor that flickered purple. Zhuofan's eyes were bloodshot as he roared at the heavens. His veins popped one by one out of his skin, threatening to burst. With the sharp lightning wings stretching a meter in every direction, increasing the lightning output, 100 meters around him was pulverized. Zhuofan was now the avatar of a demon god, bent on spreading chaos and slaughter. And that horrifying face was twisted to such a degree, even the audience watching beyond the veil felt weak in their knees. Even the 7 houses' profound heaven experts were shaking at the mighty display. Chu Qingqing struck the national elemental stone, calling out his name as tears fell from her eyes, evidence of the pain in her heart. They were wrong about him. He was the one hurting the most from Xuanningsiang's passing. He chose to suppress his grief, to take them all to safety before going to slaughter. Huangpu Qingtian Luo Yunchang was choking with emotion seeing Zhuofan go mad from the pain of loss. Luo Yunhai was startled. I have never seen Big Brother Zhuo lose control like that. Captain Pang nodded. His knuckles white. Zhuofan had always been wise and collected, an indomitable mountain, just like a true leader. Only now he realized their tough and resolved steward. Zhuo had a weaker side. Zhuofan's howls and twisted features evoked silent cries from the Luo clan. What pain, what torment must his heart be enduring for him to show such grief? The entire Luo clan turned to Regent Estate for the first time ever. This meager, barely ascended second-rate clan was looking at the head of the 7 houses with a thirst for battle. Luo Yunhai's eyes flashed as they took in Huangpu Tianyuan and Ling Wuchang. They burned with endless rage, wishing nothing more than to purge the two from this world. Uncaring of the looks the ants gave him, Ling Wuchang smiled. Prime Minister, you were saying? A hero always falls for the princess. I never expected for such a cautious kid to get wrapped up in such a cliché. A shame really. Zhuge Changfeng sighed. Ling Wuchang laughed. It's because of his paranoid nature, of his dead heart, that a man who by all intents and purposes shouldn't have weaknesses would lose his mind in the simplest fashion. Emotional people have normal reactions when they are excited, while those dead inside, the tiniest spark could set them off and collapse them from within. Zhuge Changfeng nodded helplessly. Monkey, you cannot fight an old fox after all. Huangpu Qingtian, your life is mine. Zhuofan's roar broke everyone out of their reverie, and even Chu Qingqing's shouts stopped. They saw him shoot for the skies and he was gone the next second. Zhuofan, don't go. You know it's a trap. Chu Qingqing smashed at the national elemental stone, crying herself hoarse. But her voice was unable to pierce the veil. Zhuofan wouldn't have stopped even if he did hear her. he had long passed the point of no return. His emotions were scarring his heart, and the madness was the only sign showing what he was going through. He was driven by one thought alone, fueled by his inner turmoil. Nothing mattered more than ripping Huangpu Qingtian's head from his shoulder in offering to Ninger. Chu Qingqing was crying and shouting long after he was gone. Grandmother held her. Child, he's doing it for another woman, not you. So why are you? Grandmother, Chu Qingqing looked at her through tears. Didn't you say he was cold and ruthless? How did he change? Grandmother was lost for words. How should I know? I am not his shadow. She had to admit, however, that not even she, who had raised 3 generations of Drifting Flowers Edifice's elders, noticed Zhuo Fan having such strong affection for someone. Sighing, Grandmother shook her head. Chu Qingqing closed her eyes and said, I knew I had made the right choice back then. Startled, Grandmother nodded helplessly. Perhaps? Do you want to save her? An aged voice pierced Chu Qingqing's ears. Chu Qingqing turned in the voice's direction. You don't have to speak. If you are intent on saving her, come see me in the forest 30 miles from here. But you better hurry, lest the window closes. She only has 2 hours left. Shuddering, Chu Qingqing pulled out of Grandmother's embrace and flew away. Grandmother was stunned, but Chu Qingqing's impatient voice came next. Grandmother, I have something to do. I'll be back soon. Grandmother frowned. She used to know everything when it came to Drifting Flowers Edifice. Just what is Chu Qingqing going to do? But she trusted her enough not to question her motives. When the clamor died down and Zhuo Fan left the water exit, everyone turned to the Earth National Elemental Stone. Huangpu Qingtian had long been waiting there, gathering his men, waiting for his quarry. Eldest young master, are you certain the punk will fall for such a painfully obvious trap? Just now I saw the water exit activating. Wouldn't it make more sense for them to leave for Dragon Cloud City with the 4 brimming sacred pills? Turning to the 10,000 men's ambush, Yu Yushan sighed. With neither the pills nor winning the esoteric debate, we would truly lose this time. The other 2 nodded. Huangpu Qingtian mocked them. Humph, ignorant fools. I've already stressed what our main objective is. As long as Zhuo Fan lives, nothing else matters. And above all else, Sir Ling is never wrong. The others may return, but Zhuo Fan won't. Wait and see. The 3 bowed. They had no clue what was happening on Zhuo Fan's side, but the audience was clear on one thing. Zhuo Fan was on his way over to the Earth exit. They were cast reverent gazes onto Ling Wuchang standing among Regent Estate's clansmen, as expected of unwanted contrivers' ploys. Even Demon Archon Zhuo Fan fell for it. He truly is the Empire's sage. Ling Wuchang was basking in the gazes of everyone, straightening his beard in pride. He felt like his glory had surpassed even Zhuge Chongfeng's. But the latter didn't bother, eyes fixed on the National Elemental Stone, contemplating. A day passed and Huangpu Qingtian was still sitting peacefully before the Earth exit. The sudden thunderclap scared off the birds in its path. The frantic and erratic power threatened to crush everything. Huangpu Qingtian opened his eyes and grinned, looking in the distance. Ha ha ha, finally. Yan Bangyi, Yu Yushan, Lin Xianfeng, get ready. We can't let him escape. Understood. The 3 cupped their hands, vanishing among the trees with the fall of lighting. It revealed a gruesome face. Zhuo Fan's eyes knew nothing but bloodlust. At this point Huangpu Qingtian was thrilled. His presence here proved that the plan had worked. Ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan, I used to think you had the same royal air as myself. How come you're riddled with emotion? How could you stoop so low? Now I see that I am the only one worthy to be king here. Huangpu Qingtian, your life is mine. Zhuo Fan roared, throwing himself at Huangpu Qingtian. Huangpu Qingtian sneered. Only kings are worthy of my attention. 3 shouts followed his words and a flood of people came from all directions, more than 10,000. There were even hundreds of profound heaven experts leading the charge, wielding 4th-grade spiritual weapons with the sole purpose of piercing that diamond body of his. Zhuo Fan roared, "Get lost, ants!" His voice powered by his intent spread all around, only to meet another intent along the way with a bang. The two intents cancelled each other. Huangpu Qingtian's eyes widened. He didn't take Zhuofan to be capable of outdoing him in the strength of soul. But he made sure to cover it up with mockery. Humph, you'll never get to use intent as long as I'm around. Squinting, Zhuofan was still unfazed. If the easy way failed, he'd just have to kill them the hard way. Zhuofan sped up and made contact with the 10,000 men's army. Tens of spiritual weapons fell upon Zhuofan, akin to being hit by a cannonball each time. Even Yu Yushan and his two allies looked startled at the onslaught. Not even a radiant stage expert could escape the blows of tens of profound heaven experts all coming at once. They'd be picked apart. Zhuofan has truly lost it to charge head-on. The audience beyond the veil was of the same opinion. They finally realized the horrifying difference between a calculative beast and a mad one. Zhuofan had now lost all reason, all inhibitions, but regardless of how strong he was, even he would fall against an army. Luo Yunchang and others were watching in worry. What happened next was beyond anything they had ever dreamed of. Even Regent Estate was floored. I thought I told you. Get out of my sight, you insects. Following his roar, the purple lighting enveloped his body, and under the stunned audience's watch, he moved like a tornado with his wings spread. Whoosh. The attack hacked through metal and flesh alike. Tens of profound heaven experts and their spiritual weapons were bisected before they could make contact. The lightning wings, wrapped in purple lightning, were the ultimate killing weapon. Chapter 313 Demonic Dragon's Might. Chapter 313 Demonic Dragon's Might. Elite Coder. Utter shock. Every single person who was watching went slack-jawed, no exception. Lung Wuchang was quite certain a couple dozen profound heaven experts wouldn't do Zhuofan in, but he didn't go as far as to assume they'd die in an instant. Not even a radiant stage expert with their intent sealed could pull it off, and yet. Ling Wuchang's gaze grew firm, as did his frown. I knew the kid was hiding his strength. Now we finally see his limits. Xie Tianshang's eyes shrank, the hand on the hilt tightened. Till now he saw Zhuofan as a convenient target to challenge and better himself, only to find out that the guy was an even bigger objective than Huangpu Qingtian had ever been. Zhuofan's mad slaughter was that of a tyrant, trampling all that stood in his way. The bloody and gruesome battle had even this martial fanatic's blood pumping. He was totally regretting it now. Why couldn't he have stayed back in Beast King Mountain? He would have been fighting alongside Zhuofan right about now, getting his fix of killings. Huangpu Qingtian's eyebrow moved. Zhuofan had defied his projections, with those lightning wings of his even capable of cutting through fourth-grade spiritual weapons like butter. Taking a leap further, it wasn't that much of a wild guess that those wings could pierce his own hardened body. Attack! The instant death of dozens of profound heaven experts struck fear in the rest, but Huangpu Qingtian was there to make sure they would stop at nothing to kill him. For a moment, nobody knew what to do while the others were in a conundrum over their literal existence. Zhuofan had no such qualms. He jumped into the fray, waving his wings and fists in every direction. Bam! Another few dozen profound heaven experts bit the dust, cut right down the middle. Zhuofan's hands weren't idle either, punching the still beating hearts out of the chest of two others he squeezed, sending blood and gore around, while the two decorations on his arms blew apart. His eyes, though, were just as brutal and bloodshot as when he started this bloody mess. They were a window into his heart, consumed now by slaughter. The legs of the rest wobbled, their hearts gripped in fear. Zhuofan was the very personification of a savage beast, killing regardless of who barred his path. Some that broke out into a mad run for their lives were swiftly caught up and killed with impunity. At this moment, valor pushed through the fear, and everyone came to one conclusion. Since they were destined to die either way, they'd rather go down fighting. They fell upon him like a flood, as the thirst for murder in Zhuofan's eyes grew and grew. Huangpu Qingtian had a satisfied smirk. I finally understand what Serling was talking about. The collected Juefan would never engage in senseless slaughter, breeding hatred all around, but go for scare tactic. We may be 10,000, but the ones engaged in fighting only amount to a mere handful. But with his mind consumed by rage, he forced everyone to see no escape from death, lest they kill him. He has completely aroused their self-preservation. Revenge is so deeply ingrained in his mind that he is no longer feared, ha ha ha. Eldest young master is a genius. We won't even need to intervene now. The punk will sooner or later end up dying, swallowed by our 10,000 men. Yu Yushan snickered and added a thumbs up. Huangpu Qingtian waved him off, hardly. Ants are just that, ants. They won't ever get to wring his life. Their only use is to chip at Juefan's stamina and reveal any meddlesome aces he has tucked away. It will be up to me to cull this demon for murder. No one else is worthy, not even you three. The trio looked at each other, their hearts filled with dissatisfaction and anger, but none retorted. Going back to the slaughter at hand, Juefan was found to have reaped through hundreds of experts. The trio nodded inwardly. Eldest young master has a point. The monster has gone berserk, but we're still no match for him. Now then, it is time we added to the challenge. Activate that 36 array. Huangpu Qingtian watched the slaughter with a cold and detached eye. Yen Bangyi gave a signal to the ones hiding in the forest. The men's hands weaved through gestures and a bright light enveloped the battlefield. Juefan, who saw only red before his eyes, suddenly stopped and his knees buckled. Looking down, he saw a silvery light meteor array. Juefan's instinct told him this was a first-grade array. Putting pressure on him and sealing his movements, he could tear through such a low-grade array with his Yuan Qi alone. But it was easier said than done when being assaulted from all sides by endless waves of enemies. Those profound heaven experts wielding spiritual weapons were waiting for this golden opportunity, and stabbed him. A dozen of them chose to aim for the lightning wings instead. With the lightning wings nailed to the ground, he was like a lamb to the slaughter. He, soaring demonic dragon's head is mine. One excited profound heaven expert saw endless glory within reach, but then a curse came from behind. Don't you dare get greedy. Stick to the plan and hold down his wings. Any mistake now will turn the eldest young master's wrath on you. Shuddering, the man woke up from his reverie, moving from Juefan's head to the wings. The audience beyond the veil were crying out in shock. As Luo Yunchang was sweating buckets with worry, they only had to trap Juefan, and when he was meek and helpless, the sea of people would attack and finish the job. Huangpu Tianyuan smiled. Sir Ling, the punk would be worse for wear if not outright killed. Who knows? I reckon his ultimate demise will rest in the eldest young master's hands. Leng Wuchang shook his head. Huangpu Tianyuan snorted. Won't that give him all the glory? Whoosh. Tens of fourth-grade spiritual weapons were coming for Juefan's head. Not even Juefan could take that. Yet the man in question had the same bloodthirsty gaze, not registering the meager clowns and their parlor tricks. As the spiritual weapons approached, joy blossomed on the faces of everyone. Just then, Juefan's right eye shined with a golden halo. Divine Eye of the Void. First stage, shift. Whoosh. All spiritual weapons vanished without a trace, only to appear a mile away. Somewhere in the forest they all froze in shock. They were this close to ending the monster, but their weapons vanished. How do we kill him now? Won't we just die? Thank God the monster is still in the meteor array and we can draw back. Their relief was short-lived, however. As the purple lightning once again exploded from his body, a boom announced the destruction of the array beneath him, as well as the bloody pieces of profound heaven experts flying everywhere. Juefan made a show of standing up and, without preamble, resumed the slaughter fest. Only this time, the purple lightning acted as a shield 3 meters around him. Those unfortunate enough not to remove themselves from peril were ejected by force, permanently and in a spectacular fashion of gory shower and blood. Even the hidden arrays around him were detonated ahead of their time. The purple lightning tore through anyone and anything without remorse. Juefan was charging all this while. He didn't need to do much else, with the shield blowing everyone around to pieces. In mere 15 minutes, the death toll reached 4 digits, with many of the victims strewn around all over the place. The rest shirked back in fear, not willing to face him and test his edge. Now even if Juefan chased them, they'd still flee the first time they had placed their trust in human wave tactics and held a glimmer of hope at overpowering the savage. While now, that notion was quite literally blown away, evident by the victims getting zapped as they tested the lightning shield, only to die gruesomely before they could even reach him. How do you fight that? A man's valor grew when fighting against surmountable opponents. But in Juefan's case, the man was indomitable, and fear had soon taken root. The battlefield had devolved into Juefan chasing around fleeing and powerless targets. No one could stop him. Yen Bongi was soaked in sweat, now realizing the tragic and deadly extent of Juefan's purple lightning. It was worse than his poison. Under these circumstances, the tables had turned. They were the ones with the army, and yet they were the ones ending up butchered. Yu Yushan was panicking. Eldest young master, that thing is a freak of nature. Our 10,000 men's army will be gone soon if we don't do something. Not to mention the whole of Dragon Cloud City's clan and house leaders are watching us. We've been plotting and scheming for so long to trap one man, and if we still can't deal with him, we'll become the butt of the Empire's joke. I know. I don't need you to remind me. Huangpu Qingtian's snort cut him off. His eyes glinted with cruelty as he stepped forward. I didn't think I'd have to step in so soon. I truly am surrounded by trash. Chapter 3:14 Dragons Collide. Chapter 3:14 Dragons Collide. Elite Coder. People watched the Earth National Elemental Stone engrossed, be it from fear or shock. Some were too stunned to even react. Juefan had braved against 1,000 men alone and killed them by the score like a true demon god. It was long past the point where the house's elders could stay calm. Veiled Dragon Pavilion's Long Jiu was the most affected. Juefan's murder weapon was none other than the purple lightning from his eye, though the difference couldn't be bigger. Juefan's purple lightning was so strong he used it as armor, and all he had to do was run into the enemy unchallenged. The enemy had no choice but to flee, unable to cope with such destructive force. The lofty figure, filled with zeal in his indiscriminate killing, made the viewers secretly cry out in excitement. One particular crazed martial fanatic felt the opposite. Xie Tianshang had long been shuddering with fervor and fighting spirit. Whoosh! A light announced Chu Qingqing's return, her face filled with grief. Grandmother rushed to her side in worry. Qingqing, what's wrong? Nothing. Chu Qingqing shook her head. How is he? Grandmother sighed and turned to the veil. See for yourself. Chu Qingqing caught Juefan's howl as he tore into the 10,000 men army. His face was malevolent among the flying limbs, a picture only achieving completion with the symphony manifested by the agonized victims. The bloodshot eyes seemed to write off anyone they landed on. Gone from this world, the first thing that came to mind was a death god unleashed upon this world to spread suffering and pain. Chu Qingqing's heart was twisted up from pain, biting her lip in fear of crying out. Even as tears fell from her eyes, she knew very well that the crazed Juefan was in incredible pain and grief. Look, Huangpu Qingtian is joining. At the nameless cry, everyone turned to the imposing and mighty figure charging with relentless force towards Juefan. There was not a single person out there who didn't recognize the conceited heaven-shaking dragon lord. This lifted the moods of everyone at the prospect. The two strongest geniuses of Tianyu were duking it out. Who was going to win? Who was going to be the number one clan in this time's esoteric debate? It would soon be made apparent. As dragons collided, the rules were very clear though. The first to return to Dragon Cloud City was crowned champion. Though everyone knew, the returnees even more so, that it was merely an escape, cowardice. The title of number one clan of Tianyu rested on the shoulders of these two dragons. Gulping, every single person was watching the most anticipated battle of the century with hearts in their throat. Xie Tianshang was holding the sword hilt so tight that his hand turned white. His eyes were sparkling while his excitement shot through the roof. Those two were the objectives he wanted to desperately surpass, but who was the best and strongest of their generation hanged far more heavily on his mind. This battle would settle who was to be his true goal. Zhuo Fan! Zhuo Fan went nuts in killing anything that moved, going so far under in his bloodlust that he lost focus of his surroundings. It was then that the shout coming from behind pierced his ears. Turning around, he saw Huangpu Qingtian charging and shouted, "Huangpu Qingtian, you will pay with your life." Zhuo Fan moved away from those ants and rushed towards Huangpu Qingtian. The purple lightning withdrew into his fist, just as he struck. Huangpu Qingtian roared as well, shining golden and surrounded by 9 golden dragons as he met the punch. Imperial Tyrant Body Art. Bam! The staggering power of the punches smashed together. A golden light erupted and purple lightning exploded. As the earth caved and sky trembled, Zhuo Fan and Huangpu Qingtian's fists were now in a deadlock. But the power only grew stronger, roaming along their arms and aiming to settle the stalemate. Huangpu Qingtian and Zhuo Fan glared at each other, with neither backing out an inch. But the sudden explosion flung both of them backwards for 5 feet. The tremendous pressure swept the battlefield. The rampant golden glow along with the berserk purple lightning tore into any poor devil that crossed its path. The fallout alone robbed the lives of 2,000 hapless souls, reduced to mangled flesh, and adding to this hellscape gasping, the survivors fled as fast as they could. It went beyond what their feeble minds could possibly comprehend. Just the shock wave reaped through them like death. Not even profound heaven experts were spared from such a cruel fate. They had finally come to realize, on their own skin, what a gulf in power truly meant. The profound heaven experts knew the two of them could kill them with just their thumb. How could heaven allow for such monsters to exist? It went against the natural order. The ones receiving the full brunt of the shock were in fact 6 dragons and 1 phoenix. They were aware of how the two were leagues above them, but nobody had imagined it would be such a steep cliff separating them. They had a feeling that not even in the radiant stage would they be the two's match. Xie Tianshang clenched his fists in frustration, but sighed in the end, "Just how am I to surpass these monsters?" For the first time ever, this martial fanatic actually complained about one's strength. Huangpu Qingtian and Zhuo Fan's display left him utterly powerless. A standoff! While the rest were awed by the power display, only Jade Flute Divine Sword Fang Qiubai's eyes squinted. They even contained a glint of amazement while looking at Zhuo Fan. The Emperor's intent for Zhuo Fan to harass Huangpu Qingtian came from his counsel. He had gone to great lengths in informing Zhuo Fan of every aspect of Huangpu Qingtian's trait. That a head-on clash was ill-advised, and he had to lean on tactics to get the upper hand nonetheless. It did not lower the danger Zhuo Fan had faced in this mission, yet at the end of it all, the kid took merely 5 years to reach the level of monstrosity Huangpu Qingtian turned out to be. Something he had failed to foresee. He could go as far as to say Zhuo Fan was the truest monster of the two. Just 5 years ago, Zhuo Fan barely defeated Huangpu Qingtian's younger brother, who was far weaker. And here he was now the other brother's equal. It was just too hard to wrap his head around how insane it was. What blew his mind, however, was the two monsters' 1-stage gap in cultivation. So the two may be equal right now, but Zhuo Fan's potential was inhumanly above Huangpu Qingtian's. It was hard to fathom what the future held for the man in 5 years. No, just 3 years. Zhuo Fan may very well be able to wipe the floor with Huangpu Qingtian. Such prospects were so ridiculous, even Fang Qiubai had to do a double take. It's all so obvious now why the kid was so carefree when accepting this mission. He is confident of victory. As long as he comes out alive from this battle, he will grow into the number 1 overlord of Tianyu. Not even Regent Estate's 1,000-year-old legacy will be of use then, ha ha ha. Fang Qiubai sighed. Ling Wuchang and Huangpu Tianyuan had reached the same dreaded conclusion. Zhuofan had now risen to the level of biggest threat on their list. He must be stopped at all costs. The kid can already cause upheavals, throwing the 7 houses into turmoil. If allowed to grow for even a second more, no matter how much power the 7 houses bring out, it wouldn't be worth a damn. Huangpu Qingtian stopped his skidding, looking at Zhuofan in astonishment. He couldn't believe what just happened. One of his peers actually had the power to fight him. Zhuofan had so far been a thorn in his side through his cunning and sinister arts. But this clash proved they were equals. A truth he wasn't ready to accept. The majestic and royal Regent estate's eldest young master, who had been uncontested all his life, had now found his nemesis. Perhaps the one to rob him of his birthright to rule. A deep sense of danger had taken root into his heart. Something that had never happened before. It only worked to fuel his thirst for murder as he roared, "Zhuofan, today you must die." Huangpu Qingtian, pay with your life. Zhuofan roared back. The lightning crackled as he charged, and Huangpu Qingtian did the same. Boom. The sky exploded in lightning as the earth was scorched. The two forces of nature in the shape of body cultivators clashed blow by blow, tearing the world asunder and spreading death. The fallout of every clash was like a bomb, which caught the hapless fools from the vassal clans, reaping their lives in the most agonizing way possible. Oi, you two, we aren't collateral damage here, you know. You both have a strong arm to take the punishment, but we are normal people. Show some compassion, will you? And leave us out of it. The two were too far gone. Zhuofan consumed by vengeance, and Huangpu Qingtian consumed by having his status under real threat. They had no time to mind the petty ants, constantly clashing and constantly moving. 200 blows later, the two had no scratch on them. Though one couldn't say the same about the unfortunate souls surrounding them. What was supposed to be an ambush was now culled by the aftermath of these monsters. The number of casualties tallied to 5,000 at the least. It was a total tragedy. Genocide. Yushan's group of 3 was shaking in their boots and sweating like pigs. They looked into each other's eyes. Should we leave? If anyone else heard them, they'd be floored. What the hell, man? If even the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix are scared of the two's fallout, what about us? Are we supposed to sit here and die? As the two's fight escalated, it had put the lives of even these 3 in danger. The decision was made for them, as the frail balance between the two monsters had slowly tipped. Huangpu Qingtian's golden dragon claw grabbed at Zhuofan's throat. The power behind it made Zhuofan flinch and lean away. Huangpu Qingtian snickered. His attack changed as he struck down. Zhuofan felt an immense pressure burying him a meter into the ground. He die. With a sinister and gleeful grin, Huangpu Qingtian's claw shot for his throat. 9 dragons diamond body, dragon-empowered claw. Chapter 315 Seal. Chapter 315 Seal Rip. The space itself cracked as the golden dragon claw pierced at Zhuofan. The sharp gale cut at one's face. Squinting, Zhuofan was shocked inside. The feeling of this power told him that this martial art was at the limit of surpassing profound rank level and entering the earth level. The consequences would be dire if it struck the audience beyond the national elemental stone were equally shocked. Huangpu Qingtian's arsenal wasn't limited to just the imperial tyrant body art. Xie Tianshang and his allies were the only ones who recognized that claw. Huangpu Qingtian had used the same claw on them once before, but that time paled compared to the one he showed today. Yet even that weak claw was enough to force them into submission. Witnessing Huangpu Qingtian going all out, it dawned on them what a deadly move it was, that it could crush mountains. Feng Qiubai watched it all with a critical eye. 9 dragons diamond body? I never thought I'd see this earth-ranked cultivation method appear again. What? Sir Feng Di, did you say earth-ranked? Gasping, the rest couldn't believe their ears. Grandmother cried out, "Is this the fabled imperial families?" Feng Qiubai nodded. It is precisely the earth-ranked cultivation method the imperial family used at the time they founded Tianyu, 9 Dragons Diamond Body. With the cultivation method being so brutal, the pinnacle of body cultivation, one needed remarkable talent coupled with a staunch body, lest they would die a gruesome death. At the founding of the empire, the imperial family could only train in the first stage, but even that proved to be too much for some. The dragon power ran rampant throughout their body, bursting their vessels and ultimately their bodies. I would have never guessed Huangpu would attain great ancestors' power. More so as Fang Qiubai squinted at Regent Estate. His training of the first stage is sublime and is very likely to go beyond it. Eyes turned to Regent Estate with horror. It was bad enough that Regent Estate was the strongest of the houses, but now their future estate lord had the talent to wield an earth-ranked cultivation method. Who was there left to face them? Regent Estate was clear on this, sticking out their heads in pride. As if to say, "Oh, now you know our power. Be good and wait. See how we deal with anyone who opposes us." Grandmother and her 2 allies' moods sank. There was always a gap in the 7 houses' power, but that would usually be bridged with their inherited profound ranked martial art. That gave them a fighting chance, yet with Regent Estate using an earth-ranked martial art, they had left the other houses far behind, a level they could never reach. The 3 houses began to lament about their future. Was it perhaps a mistake pitting ourselves against the Regent Estate? Even their greatest hope of this generation, Zhuofan, was about to be culled. He only knew profound ranked martial arts. His talent was great, but how was he to rise up to Huangpu Qingtian wielding an earth-ranked martial art? They turned to the national elemental stone with a shake of their heads, assured that the worst outcome was nigh. Only Chu Qingqing and Luo Yunchang begged to differ. In fact, they weren't thinking at all. Their minds and hearts were filled with worry for Zhuofan, trapped there all alone and waiting for Huangpu Qingtian to strike. Die, Zhuofan! Huangpu Qingtian cackled. Victory was at hand. Zhuofan couldn't budge, but his eyes flashed golden. The one to die is you. Divine Eye of the Void's first stage shift. Zhuofan vanished into thin air. Huangpu Qingtian's claw gouged a 1,000-meter deep hole into the ground. Eyes trembling, Huangpu Qingtian wailed. He was about to get up when a relentless force smashed into him. A purple lightning-empowered fist rammed into his back. The rampant purple lightning rained havoc to his insides, tearing at his heart. No matter how tough Huangpu Qingtian was, he was not invincible. He spat crimson blood, and was sent barreling into the hole he had just made, deepening it by another 1,000 meters. Such a radical change happened too fast for anyone to comprehend or react. None saw how Zhuofan had dodged, only registering how his fist buried Huangpu Qingtian. They were dumbstruck, minds blown. Few knew about Zhuofan's new abilities, with only the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix having seen him using it. But now everyone had gotten a taste of what he was capable of, and all they could do was stare. Bug-eyed Fang Qiubai shivered, blinking in confusion. Not even this guy, peak radiant stage expert and glorious divine dragon of Tianyu, had any clue about how Zhuofan had pulled it off. What just happened? Is there a martial art in this world that I don't know of? I know all that came from Tianyu, so how? Fang Qiubai shook his head in the end, praising the kid to new levels. He always liked taking people by surprise. Grandmother and Long Yifei's eyes lit up. Under the imminent threat of Huangpu Qingtian's earth-ranked martial art, Zhuofan escaped unscathed and even retaliated. Their hopes of winning against Regent Estate were rekindled. The kid doesn't disappoint, ha ha ha. The trio laughed to themselves. Huangpu Tianyuan watched it all with a thin smile. He spoke calmly to Leng Wuchang, but every elder heard it too. Qingtian is no match for the little monster. We can only depend on Leng's plans if we are to ever defeat him. Worry not, estate lord, everything is going according to plan. Knowing the man aimed to curb the elder's view of the eldest young master, Leng Wuchang merely nodded. Huangpu Tianyuan smiled, and enjoyed the show from the cloud of dust hovering above the hole. Huangpu Qingtian burst out, quite a sorry sight. He wasn't able to get his footing straight though as a sharp wind approached from behind. Huangpu Qingtian flashed around, face to face with Zhuofan's bloodshot eyes. The sharp lightning wings traced his face, leaving a bloody gash. Huangpu Qingtian's heart was wrecked with fear. His body shaking, that was too close. Thanks to his quick reaction, he had kept his head from being impaled. It was his first time being in actual mortal danger. As he grew increasingly cautious, Zhuofan's bloodthirst only rose. Zhuofan was the only one to pose a threat to his life. Huangpu Qingtian grabbed the outstretched wing and punched Zhuofan with the other hand. The blow shot forth with such might, it aimed to explode his head. Zhuofan wasn't worried, using the golden halo in his eye to whisk away right before it touched him. Huangpu Qingtian once again found himself getting struck from behind. Zhuofan used his wing to whip the man's back and leave a nasty gash. Purple lightning singed through the skin and forced another cough of blood out of him. Zhuofan pressed his advantage, following with more blows. Huangpu Qingtian tried to put up resistance, but he couldn't muster the strength. Zhuofan was an enigma. He couldn't get a read on his next action, and was caught by surprise each time. The scene turned odd, to say the least. Zhuofan hounded Huangpu Qingtian like a ghost, whipping him from every direction. Every strike left bloody wounds on Huangpu Qingtian's body, while he was coughing blood, yet not once could he fight back. It was more along the lines of him wanting to, but being unable to find his target. The man moved around like a ghost, covering his tracks. Huangpu Qingtian found himself in his most humiliating moment. As if he was Zhuofan's punching bag and received all the man's lashing. Fated to take it all but could never lash out himself. The audience was speechless. How come the head of the 6 dragons was reduced to being flogged? By contrast, Zhuofan was having the time of his life, consumed by the thrill of revenge. Huangpu Qingtian had had enough at this point and roared, "What the hell are you guys gawking at? Activate the array." "But eldest young master, didn't you say we should wait?" Yu Yushan mumbled. Huangpu Qingtian barked at him. "I can't wait any longer. Do it." Yu Yushan saw the eldest young master had lost his poise and grace. He knew time was of the essence and signaled the men in the forest. The battlefield was then shrouded in a barrier. Zhuofan was just about to change places again when he was frozen stiff, unable to control space anymore. A sealed space. Zhuofan frowned and snorted inside. He finally understood what unwanted contriver had cooked up. The mastermind saw even through his divine eye of the void. Chapter 316 Limit Release. Chapter 316 Limit Release. Elite Coder. It's too soon to use it. Leng Wuchang sighed. As far as I know, the kid is quite an expert in arrays. The longer the sealed space's activation is put off, the better, as it would catch him off guard. But Qingtian can't hold on till then. Huangpu Tianyuan smiled. Sir Ling, does the punk have any chance of coming out of the array now that it's activated? Leng Wuchang shook his head. Even as an array grandmaster, his odds are slim at best. It's fine then. You're just worried that with enough time he'd see through the array. Since his chances are mostly non-existent, what's there to be afraid of? Huangpu Tianyuan said, No, when I move, I make sure to rob even the most minute chance of victory from my enemy. It goes double for increasingly dangerous opponent. Leng Wuchang's eyes held a savage glint. Huangpu Tianyuan laughed mirthless. A clash between schemers is far crueler than any cultivator's fight. Microcosmic Orbit Array. Zhuofan noticed the 365 profound heaven experts around him holding their hands in prayer and sitting down where the core of the array was. This was the 6th grade sealing array, Microcosmic Orbit Array. Its only function was to seal off space. Set up according to the heavenly directions, a miniature world was formed, trapping anyone within entering it. One would find himself in another world. The only way to escape was by employing dominating might to crush the heaven and earth of this miniature world. Anything less and it could keep even a Radiant stage expert sealed inside for as long as the controller wished, no matter how much the victim raved with space sealed up. Zhuofan's shift was under lock and key. It was the first time since the start of his battle with Huangpu Qintian that he felt danger. This battle was now inevitable and only one outcome was viable: winning or dying. All other choices were now moot. Huangpu Qintian. Zhuofan's malice was directed at the snickering man. His fists clenched and purple lightning flashed as he charged. Huangpu Qintian did the same. Confident now that his plan was successful in sealing shift. His eyes glinted sinisterly, meeting his enemy head on. The two were at a stalemate again, but Huangpu Qintian felt at ease. The earlier lashing had been miserable, robbing him of any chance to fight back. But now that he could display his overbearing might, he was filled with utter joy. The two clashed for 200 more rounds, with Huangpu Qintian becoming increasingly bolder and Zhuofan finding himself strained. The audience was stunned. Weren't they equals? Why is Huangpu Qintian holding out strong after all this time, yet Zhuofan looks to be reaching his limit? Was Huangpu Qintian holding back from the start? Worry wormed into their hearts. Xie Tianshang sighed. Huangpu Qintian is dreadful to hold back even against Zhuofan. But then a laughter resounded. Ha ha ha, he hadn't. Zhuofan is the one who used too much stamina and had long surpassed his limit. All eyes turned to Feng Qiubai. Don't you see? The purple lightning has dimmed and his body is starting to give. He must have been relying on the purple lightning to raise his power when clashing with Huangpu Qintian. But the toll exceeds the limit his body can bear. That strange art of his allowed him to fight back, but now that it is sealed by that array, he is on the ropes. He may seem to be meeting Huangpu Qintian at every blow, but he's spent. The outcome is a foregone conclusion by now. Feng Qiubai sighed in regret being pointed out. The others looked closer and noticed how Zhuofan was growing frantic. Wounds riddled his body and his blood was being added to the soaked mud. He couldn't take much more punishment or his body would break. While Huangpu Qintian was getting more and more savage, his power was unbreakable. Soaring demonic dragon has no chance against heaven-shaking dragon lord. This is providence. Everyone shook their heads, yet the one on the receiving end didn't seem to care. Zhuofan still met Huangpu Qintian head-on, driven by the thought of killing his enemy even at the cost of his own life. His effort had earned him the audience's respect. It looked like a typical case of fighting against impossible odds, but everyone took it as the eulogy of a tragic hero. Regent Estate snickered at Zhuofan's plight. Xie Tianshang held his sword, filled with battle lust. He was itching to fight alongside Zhuofan. Chu Qinqing and Luo Yunchang had been crying all this time, their hearts gripped by pain. Zhuofan's mind is drowned in thoughts of revenge, fighting savagely with total disregard for his own safety. After another 100 clashes, the lightning scattered from Zhuofan's body. Huangpu Qintian availed himself of the enemy's rare moment of weakness and let out a dragon roar as he smashed an empowered fist into Zhuofan's face. Imperial Tyrant body art. Boom! After an ear-splitting explosion, Zhuofan was knocked into the ground for the first time. He spat blood as the earth splintered over 1,000 meters. Yu Yushan's side was bewildered. Zhuofan had taken those punches before, but this time he actually spat blood, like he had suffered a major wound. Why now and not earlier? Huangpu Qintian was the only one who understood, stepping on the powerless Zhuofan's chest as he mocked. Humph, prick, where's all your power gone to now? Don't you have a bag full of tricks? What's wrong? Take them out. He. You think I couldn't tell that the purple lightning was giving you power while eating you from the inside? You did this to yourself, not me. You never were my match. Huangpu Qingtian pressed harder and Zhuofan spat blood and gore, yet no sound escaped his clenched teeth. Luo Yunchang and the women cried in pain, while the rest sighed how the soaring demonic dragon was on his deathbed. With his cunning, Huangpu Qingtian would never be his match in a one-on-one fight based on how many tricks. He had a darn shame. He lost his mind, and now had fallen for Huangpu Qingtian's ploy. Zhuofan needed but days and he'd surpass Huangpu Qingtian many times over. But that ship had sailed, and so too would his life. Huangpu Qingtian squinted at Zhuofan's puny attempts, deriding him. A pity, really. With your talent, if you had fought for any longer, the true king might have been another. But you moron, lost yourself over a dumb girl. This proves that you are unfit to be king. The only true king in this world is me, Huangpu Qingtian. He punctuated with a stomp on Zhuofan's head as he roared his victory speech. Since you are so consumed by love, I'll send you off to join that dumb girl. You wanted revenge? Humph, you won't have it even in your next life. For that wretched girl's death to drag you down like this, made killing her all the more sweeter, ha ha ha. Who? Huangpu Qingtian's cackle jarred the ears of everyone. He raised his leg, ready to burst Zhuofan's head, as people's hearts seized and they looked down. The women's tears ran in streams, but then, a flicker of lightning stopped Huangpu Qingtian's raised leg. Huangpu Qingtian was in shock, finding his leg gripped in an iron vise, with purple lightning streaking over it stronger than ever. Heart seized, Huangpu Qingtian realized that he couldn't stomp no matter how much he tried. Huangpu Qingtian, you will never kill me. The grim and eerie voice sounded like it came from hell. Under Huangpu Qingtian's shock, the grip flung him into the air. He couldn't do anything to fight it. When he picked himself up, what he saw froze him. How does he still have so much power? Huangpu Qingtian watched the dazzling lighting and gulped. The others were dumbstruck in the middle of the lightning storm. Zhuofan rose to his feet, his eyes bursting with bloodlust. Although soaked in blood himself and riddled with wounds, the boundless might exploding from him hammered into the hearts of all onlookers. Huangpu Qingtian turned grave. Just how much power is this punk hiding? Zhuofan's eyes were dead cold, uncaring of all the wounds all over his body. His hatred for Huangpu Qingtian was on full display. It was so thick that even the audience beyond the National Elemental Stone could feel the chill in their bones. Huangpu Qingtian, I will send you to hell even if I have to drag you down with me. Zhuofan gnashed his teeth, his face twisted. Divine Eye of the Void, limit release. An even stronger purple lightning burst from his body. Zhuofan had unleashed all the purple lightning he absorbed back in Lightning Canyon. Chapter 317 Bashing of a Regent. Chapter 317 Bashing of a Regent. Elite Coder. Roar. A wail of anger mixed with pain reached the clouds. Zhuofan's power exploded, purple lighting gushing out of him like a flood. His madness increased as well. The overpowering might left others gasping and shivering in fear. Huangpu Qingtian recoiled as well, fear obvious in his eyes. He had never seen one man capable of unleashing such a raw display of power, until now. What was even more astounding was that the said man didn't blow up from the strain. The viewers beyond the National Elemental Stone weren't there to feel it, but the sight was shocking enough. Feng Qiubai squinted. The kid was hiding such a move. But can he take it? The blood on Zhuofan's body only grew thicker. Just like a dead tree, he was pushing towards collapse. Feng Qiubai frowned, worried. Chu Qingqing and the other women's hearts went to the man's suffering. Their tears flowed for him. It was obvious that Zhuofan's trump card was a life for a life. Zhuofan from before would have never resorted to such desperate means unless it was a matter of life and death. But now, for the sake of killing Huangpu Qingtian, for revenge, he threw it all away. With a cry of pain, Zhuofan's surging power had reached a plateau. Purple lightning bathed his body, his wings turned purple as well. They crackled with lightning, releasing waves of power. Zhuofan panted, his body bloodied from head to toe. The bones of his legs were visible as the tyrannical might of the purple lightning ate through his flesh. The pain was excruciating, but his eyes only grew more sinister. Huang Pu Qingtian's heart seized looking at the purple lightning show, but he still found in him one last mockery. "Zhuo Fan, I was wondering what great and all-powerful ace had you been keeping all this time, only to find out it is a dumb crippling move to gain the power to beat me. Your body is so wrecked you can barely stand. You may have obtained the power now, but it's still not enough." Whoosh! The lightning storm flashed in his face in the form of a palm. It flung him 1,000 meters away with a bang, burying him deep into a cliff. As it collapsed over him, Zhuo Fan now took his earlier place, arm outstretched and a cold glint in his eyes. SSS. Be it the survivors or the viewers, everyone gasped. They knew Zhuo Fan had the power, but the sheer speed with which he moved was mind-boggling. Not even that monster, Huang Pu Qingtian, could see him coming. Rumble. Huang Pu Qingtian pulled himself out of the debris with a bloody nose. He didn't have the time to care, finding it more important to stare at the cold figure in shock. What was that? Was too fast? And what was that power? The punk is clearly on his last leg, so why does he have so much power? He's even stronger than when the battle started. For the first time ever, Huang Pu Qingtian's heart was in fear's grip. Huang Pu Qingtian shook it away. He was undefeated, conceited into thinking he was heaven's walking gift on earth, its rightful king. How could such a lofty being ever know fear? Gnashing his teeth and forcing himself to remain calm, Huang Pu Qingtian's eyes regained their battle spirit as he looked ahead only to find no one there. Huang Pu Qingtian had yet to make sense of it as a shocking force slammed into his back, a purple lightning out of the blue boom. The ground caved in for miles on end. Huang Pu Qingtian was in the middle, coughing up blood and getting the shock of his life. When did he get behind me? He turned his stiff head back only to meet Zhuo Fan's icy stare and the purple lightning-infused fist into his back. Humiliation. Being bashed around twice now without the slightest chance at retaliation was a clear and naked insult to Huang Pu Qingtian. The shame only grew when he realized he was actually the weaker of the two. This was his complete and utter defeat in his 20-plus years alive. Huang Pu Qingtian had never ever thought it was conceivable. It went without saying, but he was in denial now. Huang Pu Qingtian's veins popped, anger overriding his heart, and the bloodthirst in his eyes grew. Zhuo Fan must die. Roaring his frustration, Huang Pu Qingtian bore through the pain and slapped the ground to whip around and break free from Zhuo Fan's fist, pushing down on him to get some altitude. He then clawed at Zhuo Fan's face. 9 Dragon's diamond body, dragon-empowered claw. Rip! Huang Pu Qingtian's mighty claw made eerie sounds as if it tore into space itself. Nothing could stand in its way even before it landed. The ground caved 100 meters. Zhuo Fan merely stood there, taking the pressure like it was nothing. Yu Yushan's group had been worried for Huang Pu Qingtian, but they now cheered. It's the Earth-ranked martial art, 9 Dragon's diamond body. Ha ha ha, the punk is dead for sure. Yu Yushan laughed. Yen Bongi's face split into a grin. If not for that fancy art he used before, the punk would have been dead for ages. Now he is trapped in an array and won't escape no matter what trick he pulls. The rest of the survivors nodded, thrilled. They could practically see Zhuo Fan's head rolling. The Dragon's Clash was about to reach its end and everyone was excited to see it happen. Chu Qingqing was more worried than ever. Huang Pu Qingtian's Earth-ranked martial art wasn't something one could just take head-on. Zhuo Fan had bolstered his power, but in his wounded state, she feared he wouldn't be able to take it. Everyone watched nerve-wracked for Zhuo Fan's fate to end. Haha, die you prat. Huang Pu Qingtian cackled. His claw landing on Zhuo Fan's head. The hearts of everyone stopped for a second. Only Zhuo Fan stood calm, unaffected by the pressure. But when the claw was on top of him, his fist tightened, purple lightning gathered and struck. Bam! The fist and claw met, releasing a terrible sound, but just as they touched, Huang Pu Qingtian's claw was flung away. Zhuofan's purple lightning-powered fist astonishingly smashed the man's face. Huang Pu Qingtian was flung into the sky, blood trailing behind him from his nose. Zhuofan was still calmly standing in the same spot, his fist held high. The yapping around instantly grew to a halt, and the people looked at the imposing figure in fear. Dude, that's an Earth-ranked martial art, you know? Personally delivered by heaven-shaking Dragon Lord. Aren't you perhaps just a little bit condescending, flicking it away with a meager fist? Everyone gulped, unnerved. They wrote Zhuofan off at first, thinking the Earth-ranked martial art had rooted him in place. But now they knew he was looking down on it, too strong. Xie Tianyang's blood was boiling with excitement, seeing the two dragons fight. My life was worth it. Tuning out the senseless chatter, Zhuofan looked at the man he had sent flying, hovering in the air. His eyes glinted, and he jumped in but an instant. He was upon Huang Pu Qingtian. Huang Pu Qingtian was startled. He didn't get to feel the extent of his wounds as Zhuofan came with a kick in the gut. The blow was so fierce and brutal that even if he wasn't heavily injured before, he was now puking his guts and blood from the pain. Whoosh! A flash of light smashed towards Yuyushan, and the other two. The trio was taken in by Zhuofan's ridiculous power display, but seeing Huang Pu Qingtian come crashing down, they panicked. Take cover. Every man for himself. Nobody wanted to get anywhere near this battle, not that they had the time. Boom! Huang Pu Qingtian slammed into the ground, picking up dust and releasing a devastating shockwave. It blew apart 400 hapless people too slow to get away. The ground was now littered with pieces of them. Yuyushan's trio watched from the air, and gulped in fear. Why did they get the feeling that this plan to do Zhuofan in was in fact digging their own graves? Forget about that fiend, look at us. Our side is about to collapse. Even their strongest, heaven-shaking Dragon Lord, was getting his ass handed to him. Looking into the distance, Zhuofan's cold and aloof image was that of a thunder god. Yuyushan's trio's courage faltered. Damn it all to hell. How do you beat that? Chapter 318 Dragon Vein Soul. Chapter 318 Dragon Vein Soul. Elite Coder. Who? The fierce wind picked up the dust and blocked everyone's sight. When it settled, they witnessed a bloodbath, dismembered bodies and mangled limbs. The 4 houses' vassals participating in this ambush numbered 10,000, yet now less than a tenth remained. Even then, the lucky survivors were traumatized, running all over the place in fear, trying anything as long as it got them away from this hell. A shame there was no way out, not unless the 365 profound heaven experts opened the microcosmic orbit array with a bang. Huang Pu Qingtian jumped out of the rubble, face bloody and enraged. Zhuofan was so heavy-handed that he had caved in the man's nose. People all around sighed. They had never seen the Grand Regent Estate's eldest young master beaten to such an extent, to the point he couldn't muster an ounce of strength to fight back. It was unprecedented. Everyone turned to Zhuofan in fear. Perhaps only soaring demonic dragon was capable of doing so much damage. Their dread only rose. Those geniuses from the 7 houses had it worse. Ever since Zhuofan showed up, all he ever did was bash these arrogant young masters and misses. They accepted Huang Pu Qingtian being the strongest, since he was from Regent Estate and all, the head of the houses. He was a monster through and through, while Zhuofan, well, the guy came from a third-rate clan, yet he was the one who trampled all standards and obstacles with his power. It was the greatest form of ridicule. Long Jie and Long Kue were the most bitter. The first time they met him, they recognized Zhuofan's talent but looked down on his status. Regardless of how God-sent one's talent was, without a house behind him, he would never surpass them. Yet now, Zhuofan created miracles wherever he went. His current project involved brutalizing the strongest genius of the 7 houses, Huang Pu Qingtian. His display gave each of them a resounding slap to the face, informing them who was the real hero here. Huff. Panting, Zhuofan's eyes steeled. He looked invincible in the eyes of others, but he knew himself best. Releasing all that purple lightning ate away at his body, and he was now seriously hurt. It was highly likely that he was going to collapse before he finished Huangpu Qingtian off, eldest young master. Yu Yushan's trio went to their master and helped him up. Seeing his disfigured face, they cried, "Eldest young master, the punk's power is out of this world. We have to fall back. He will kill us all at this rate." "Bullshit!" Flinging his arm to make his way through the trio, Huangpu Qingtian's rage grew stronger. "As long as I'm here, failure is impossible. I've never known defeat in my entire life." The three felt conflicted and their faces fell. All they could do was shake their heads at the pig-headed Huangpu Qingtian. "Dude, take a good look at yourself and don't force the issue. So what if you always won? You are losing now when it mattered. What else can you do when even the Earth-ranked martial art has failed? That punk is a monster among freakin' monsters. How is he so powerful?" Of course, they knew to keep their thoughts to themselves, lest they poke Huangpu Qingtian's ego and end up a smear on the ground along with the countless others. One thing was certain though, the man's imposing air was gone. Zhuofan was too strong for them to cope with. Taking a deep breath to calm down somewhat, Huangpu Qingtian's eyes pondered. Then he came to a decision as he muttered, "No choice but to use that." "You still have a way, eldest young master?" the trio asked in unison. Huangpu Qingtian hesitated for a second, but the sight of the proud maniac who had reduced him to such a low state steeled his decision as he spoke defiantly. "I am invincible, no one can beat me. And you are no different." Huangpu Qingtian released a sound that shook the world. A golden dragon image flew out of his body and circled above him. Yu Yushan's trio cried out, What is that thing?" Long Xingyan cried out, This thing again? What is Huangpu Qingtian growing within himself?" He recalled perfectly how twice they had trapped Huangpu Qingtian, but this damn golden dragon ruined all their attempts. They took it for a martial art, but after careful inspection they found it to be something else. Fang Qiubai felt it was oddly familiar. He saw Huangpu Qingtian use it earlier when dealing with Chu Qingqing's trio, but that was in defense, and it had only appeared for a brief second. Even he took it for a martial art, but seeing it circling above, like a real dragon, he began to pick up on the clues. Damn that bastard! Is he out of his mind bringing it out for everyone to see? Huangpu Tianyuan clenched his fists and raved. Regent Estate's elders were wiping their brows, looking around in fear of being overheard sighing. Leng Wuchang shook his head. "He won't be able to kill that freak otherwise. I only hope its appearance after 1,000 years won't have anyone here capable of recognizing it." The other Regent Estate clansmen nodded and rejoiced inside. Not for long though, as Zhuofan's cold voice echoed in everyone's ears, "Dragon Vein Soul?" Frowning, Zhuofan turned grave. Huangpu Qingtian's face twitched, and he cursed inside. "Damn rotten punk, you actually recognize this 1,000-year-old relic?" Regent Estate's elders almost spat blood. They wished nothing more than to get in there and kill him on the spot. Blast it! How did a twerp like you find out about it? This is ridiculous. That was all Fang Qiubai needed as he slapped his head. He and Dugu Zhantian shared a shocked look and barked, "Huangpu Tianyuan, your insolence knows no bounds. The imperial family ordered you to protect Cage Dragon City, yet you secretly took out the Dragon Vein Soul from the imperial family's Dragon Vein. Are you planning on revolting?" The people panicked. They had never seen Jade Flute Divine Sword so outraged. The words Dragon Vein Soul had landed on deaf ears for many small clans, even a few first-rate ones. As for the leaders of the 6 houses, they paled and turned to Regent Estate in mute shock. Others next to them had no clue how dreadful the Dragon Vein Soul was, but being from the elite houses, they understood its importance. And that was what gave them the biggest shock. Regent Estate had the nerve to move a Dragon Vein Soul. Sweating buckets, Huangpu Tianyuan's heart was in his throat. Dragon Vein Soul was the imperial family's lifeline. It nurtured and brought prosperity to the Tianyu Empire. It was of national importance. Moving the dragon vein would bring about a huge change in the world. Even the third pillar, Parish's high priests, said those wielding the dragon vein held the fate of the land in their hands. This was why the Regent estate was tasked with defending it first, because the Regent estate and Tianyu's imperial family were related, worthy of trust. Secondly, only the 7 houses had the power to defend it and prevent any riots appearing from vying over it, but Huangpu Qingtian took it out before the whole crowd. That was the same as declaring the Regent estate planned on using it for themselves, replacing the imperial family. This was a clear act of treason, and divine dragon Fang Qiubai had the right to destroy them where they stood. Regent estate had yet to unite the 7 houses, and their power wasn't yet up to the challenge of facing the imperial family. If a war broke out, the Regent estate was done. For Huangpu Tianyuan gnashed his teeth. Damn bastard! You're so blind to see the real picture, and yet you want to steal my position? How can you condemn the entire house over your disgrace? Even if you lost against that freak, that still doesn't give you the right to release the dragon vein soul. Regent estate's elders were on pins and needles. Huangpu Tianyuan took a deep breath and was about to bullshit his way out of this, but didn't get the chance. Leng Wucheng spoke calmly. Sir Fang, you are wrong. The dragon vein soul is the foundation of our nation, but this does not, by any means, prove we wish to rebel. We are only following our duties based on His Majesty's decree. Did His Majesty tell you to take out the dragon soul for your own selfish use? Fang Qiubai spat. Humph, Sir Ling, I know your mind is sharp and cunning, but you better give me a damn good reason why I shouldn't decorate Dragon Cloud City with your heads. There was widespread shock, with those in the dark, of the importance of dragon vein soul. Even more so, the mighty divine dragon was going to slaughter the Regent estate? Was the Emperor going to fight the 7 houses and plunge the nation into turmoil? Regent estate's elders felt weak in their knees. Only Leng Wucheng was the picture of calmness. Chapter 319 Demagogue. Chapter 319 Demagogue. Elite Coder. Leng Wucheng twirled his beard as his eyes swept the crowd, ultimately stopping at Fang Qiubai. Sir Fang, do you know what Regent estate's duty is at Caged Dragon City? To protect the dragon vein. Fang Qiubai gave a flat reply, smiling. Leng Wucheng sneered. Do you know why we guard it then? Out of fear of being stolen, perhaps? Fang Qiubai stared back at him in silence. Zhuge Changfeng smiled. Tianyu's 9 dragons' dragon vein was sealed in Caged Dragon City by the first high priest himself, for the future of the empire and posterity. But the dragons within the dragon vein are a relentless force, and once they break the seal they would unleash endless death and destruction. The people would suffer and chaos would thrive. That is why Regent estate was tasked with defending it. Rather than say it was to guard against greedy people, it was more in line to stop the dragon vein's collapse and ensuing devastation. The Prime Minister is precisely right. Leng Wucheng gave Zhuge Changfeng a half-bow, then turned to Fang Qiubai. The dragon vein is tyrannical. Only Tianyu's great ancestor could make one of the dragon souls accept him. After the great ancestor's death, none could make them submit, ultimately getting sealed in Caged Dragon City. Over the course of the millennium, there were many lusting for its power, but were devoured instead. Sir Fang stated that we have taken it out for our private use, which is absolutely ludicrous. If we were to give it to Sir Fang, would you accept it? In your capacity as a divine dragon, the peak of Tianyu's power, how confident are you of success? If not even Sir dares, how could we? Anger rose within Fang Qiubai, but he remained silent. The dragon vein soul was a heaven and earth spiritual being that chose its master. Anyone that tried to claim it instead would find a swift and cruel ending, devoured whole. In other words, the Regent estate had no reason to take it out. And yet, Glancing at the dragon's soul next to Huangpu Qingtian, Fang Qiubai's eyes glinted. Then, Sir Ling, explain to me why your dear eldest young master is currently in possession of it. Squinting, Ling Wuchang peeked at the national elemental stone, then smiled. What's to explain? The dragon's soul has chosen its master. Isn't it obvious? Fang Qiubai clenched his fists, boring holes into Ling Wuchang with his glare. Ling Wuchang's smile never faltered. Regent Estate has always had peaceful and righteous people, facing any difficulties by ourselves, not willing to let the world see our suffering. But since Sir Fang insists on knowing, I will oblige you with explanation as to dispel any further misunderstandings. Ling Wuchang let out a pained sigh. It all began 24 years ago with 9 dragons' insurrection. Our venerables were unable to stop them, suffering heavy casualties. But we were blessed with an eldest young master that had outstanding talent. The dragon's soul chose him as its master, sparing the world of its ire. Later we realized that it was impossible to seal it back again, and since it was calmly staying within the eldest young master, we simply let it be. If we forced it back into the seal, we feared the other 8 dragon souls would use this chance to escape as well, and that would spell doom for Tianyu. Ling Wuchang's speech was heartrending, subtly shifting the blame on the dragon soul's escape. He even embellished with the Regent Estate suffering heavy casualties in an attempt to stop it. Thus, in a wonderful and convoluted way, he turned their treason into martyrdom. They had sacrificed so much to keep the dragon vein sealed. It would do them heavy injustice if the emperor would strike them in response. Fang Qiubai gnashed his teeth. What dragon vein insurrection? Am I to take your word for it? Who else but you know what the hell truly happened back then? You can say whatever you like at this point. It was because of this that the Regent Estate stuck to their statement, it's all the dragon soul's fault. That they always only had the Empire's safety at heart, but ended up unable to seal it back. Fang Qiubai couldn't do shit to them now. If the Regent Estate was wiped out regardless, they would incur the wrath of the common people. And no one ever wanted to take responsibility for a possible civil war, now did they? Fang Qiubai took a deep breath. Why weren't we informed? Informed? Ling Wuchang sneered and sighed. Sir Fang, as a court official, couldn't you tell? It would invite suspicion, and who knew how twisted the truth would become? The circumstances today had forced me to reveal it to Sir Fang. We hoped to have endured this disaster in silence, and only mourn our heavy losses in our hearts. We'd rather brave through the pain and torment than receive suspicion and undue disrespect for what was only expected of us. Zhuge Changfeng slipped a giggle and shook his head. Ling Wuchang was a true wordsmith. He showed they were ever devoted, bearing through any pain, while also cursing the emperor on the sly for casting suspicion on its loyal subjects. Harming them now would make the imperial family the bad guy here and criticized for harming their patriots. It would ultimately end with the imperial family losing the people's favor, and that wasn't even half of it. Ling Wuchang twisted it all up by saying that the dragon soul broke the seal and accepted Huangpu Qingtian as its master. That was the same as saying he truly was God-sent as the world's rightful king, with the only man in Tianyu's history capable of having a dragon soul being none other than Tianyu's first emperor, that lifted Huangpu Qingtian to the same status. What further proof was needed? It also worked to plant the seed in the hearts of the people that the Huangpu clan of Regent Estate would replace Tianyu's Yuan clan in ruling the empire, but with Ling Wuchang not stating it, Fang Qiubai couldn't exactly point it out either. His only choice was to seethe in silence. Regent Estate elders' worry was now replaced with full-blown conceit, arrogance, being stuck up the usual. Sir Ling is a true demagogue. Fang Qiubai snorted. Ling Wuchang raised his head and waved. You give me too much credit. I am only stating the facts, ha ha ha. Fang Qiubai faltered and turned to look at the arrogant figure within the national elemental stone with killing intent. Ling Wuchang may have preached all he wanted, but Huangpu Qingtian's death was guaranteed in his eyes. The third pillar's prophecy had never been wrong. The one to have the Tao dragon would have the world. Since the brat has a dragon soul, then he might obtain the whole dragon vein. That will spell the end of Tianyu's imperial family. He noticed how the eyes of the rest changed when they looked at Huangpu Qingtian. They may even be hailing him as their rightful king. A bad sign indeed. Only Luo Yunchang and the rest stared at the national elemental stone with worry. Huangpu Qingtian had the dragon soul's help, Providence, as he said, by his side. Zhuofan may be stronger, but how was he going to defeat the king handpicked by fate? Huangpu Qingtian was under the dragon soul's protection. Taking a deep breath, Zhuofan stared at his opponent, knowing this as well. Just that he didn't place 2 cents on some flimsy reason as Providence or what not. Moreover, his blood infant wasn't the least bit inferior to the dragon vein soul, much better in fact. As blood infant had a far sharper mind. It was the symbol of a true king. With it roaming around Huangpu Qingtian and defending him, it's going to make things hard. Spitting blood, Zhuofan frowned as his heart sank. He had released too much purple lightning and his body couldn't take it anymore. It was now or never. Zhuofan gnashed his teeth and charged. All or nothing. Oh? You dare come at me knowing full well what dragon vein soul can do? Die then. Huangpu Qingtian saw Zhuofan ready for battle and shouted, "Not even father could subdue the dragon soul, while I did it in my childhood. Do you know what that means? I am God's gift to the world. You are not fighting me but fate, heaven itself. The only outcome you'll have from it is death." Huangpu Qingtian spoke with such complete confidence, self-conceit and presence, as if he was an emperor rebuking a peasant. Yu Yushan's trio by his side basked in the leftover pride, making full use of their connection. They were destined to be officials. Those watching the national elemental stone side. With the dragon soul taken out, they had written Zhuofan off. Who could fight against heaven? Zhuofan gave a snort instead. No wonder those blood crocs listened to you. So that's your spiel. Dragon vein soul is the lord over the earth that no one dares disobey. A king's right indeed, Providence even. Your point being? Purple lightning flickered all over Zhuofan as he gathered all his power and shouted, "I am soaring demonic dragon. I will ascend the 9 heavens if I have to. Don't ever think your puny earth dragon king, a crownless dragon, can stand in my way." This painted shock on everyone's faces. Providence declared through its agent, the dragon vein soul, who was king. But Zhuofan wasn't buying it. He would have disgraced his soaring demonic dragon title if he did. He feared nothing, not even heaven. Huangpu Qingtian shuddered. His eyes bloodshot. He could accept the earlier defiance, but now he had displayed the dragon vein soul's approval, and yet this ant still dared to look down on him? Huangpu Qingtian had long passed the limits of his patience. From an early age he knew that he was the one destined to have the dragon vein, the royal throne offered to him on a silver platter. Every man, including his father, had to bow before him. Zhuofan knew this and showed not an ounce of respect. Enraging him further, the one thing his entire pride relied on was looked down at with such scorn that it was a heavy blow to his self-esteem. As if to say he was king above all, but always beneath Zhuofan. His fist tightened and he roared, "Then I shall take heaven's stead in eradicating the world of an ant daring to defy a king's authority." Huangpu Qingtian clawed. 9 dragons diamond body, earth dragon empowered claw. As the dragon's soul took flight, the earth quaked, and a surge of incredible might rose up from underground. That you're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.